Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, welcome back to Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And today is April.
March?
It's April. Dude,
April what?
I
met you at this age.
Really? Oh, 19.
Nice.
19th.
See, I gave you a little hint.
April 19th.
Yeah, April 19th. Yep, Easter is tomorrow.
It's the little victories.
It is the little ones. I totally agree. I'm on that. I'm on that boat for sure. What a good day. You know, I was
productive day.
I was driving home from CrossFit 2.2, and I was starting to like get a little misty-eyed because I enjoy those people so much. It's almost like becoming that the work. I don't want to make it sound bad, but the workouts are number one during the week, but Saturdays it's almost like the workout is secondary. I love hanging out with those people. I just love hanging out with them. Yeah. It's, I mean, for lack of a better word for it, it's like church. It's fellowship. It's hanging out with people. It's what are you doing? You know, I mean, I had one message on Facebook from my wife that said, "Hey, we got some new furniture. Does somebody have a truck?" You know, like 15 responses. Well, that's ridiculous. It was like 6 or 7 responses. And then Brad Potter, who you'll see on the podcast today in one of the interviews, said, "Hey, we can. You know, here's my keys for my truck." And I was like, "Here you go. Don't worry about it." And I was like,
"All I know you from is from the gym." There you go.
Well, I mean, I know him for more than that, but still, the selflessness always catches me off guard. You know, the idea of, you know, because my first thought was like, Jesus, you know, it's just so nice for somebody to say, "Hey, I got you." You know, no problem. You know, because I was like, "Oh, hey, do you want me to meet you there?" And he's like, "Oh, here, just take my work truck."
Dude, I felt horrible. Here, I'm your best friend. And the first thing I said to you this morning was, I am so tired. I'm so exhausted. I've been fucking balls to the walls for 2-3 weeks. It feels like solid.
Yes.
Every day off that I have, something's going on.
Yeah.
I get done with work. I'm up till 10 o'clock at night. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just been this nonstop, and I can feel myself slowly, slowly dwindling away energy-wise. And so today, you said, "Yeah, I had to move some furniture and stuff," and I was like, "I don't have it in me. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I wish I could." I came home and I took a fucking nap. The nice thing about my couch, which I love my couch.
Couch is awesome.
Is
I slept on it many times.
I had a kid behind me and I had a kid in front of me, and we snuggled up, and we started watching Escape from Planet Earth.
Let it go.
No, we're not Frozen. Okay. Escape from Planet Earth.
Oh yeah.
And it started, and then the movie got over with, and they go, "Dad, are you gonna play with us now?" It's like, oh fuck. Okay, yeah, I'll get up. Let's throw a little ball around.
I hear you. No, well, I mean I don't mind having a busy weekend. I mean that's the best. I mean it's all productive, like you said. It's all productive things. So we had a great workout. We had to go in and clean up my fuck up mess from the audio that I didn't get the other day for our recording for the podcast for CrossFit 2.2. Got that taken care of. Again, it was wonderful to see everybody and hang out with them. I went and got the truck, got my furniture, took the truck back, removed shelves from my walls so we could put the couches into the back room so I get the new furniture in the front room. Of course, it never goes smoothly.
Right.
You know, screws are stripped out, all this fucking things happen. So it was funny because my wife, I'm like back. I talk to myself when I'm doing things sometimes, you know, and so I'm back there just I'm not sure what to do because these screws are stripped out.
Right.
And so I'm back there going, I'm fucking tired of this shit. I'm just fucking sawing it off the wall. I don't care. I'm gonna get my sawzall. And my wife is like, "That's right. You get your sawzall. You take care of that business." And I just was like, I want to get it done. You know, it's so close. And then I had grocery shopping, and then we had this. So I had these things lined up, and I apologize for being late. But I like, okay, so now I can sit back and relax. And I got a shitload of work done. It's fantastic. I feel good.
Hey,
I mean, I'm just physically tired.
Great.
You know what I mean? But I feel good. You know, like we can just do this and hang out.
And that's what CrossFit 2.2 gives you. That you could just this never-ending well of energy, which I haven't been doing it long enough. I haven't been doing it long enough.
When I hear people, like when I heard Brad Potter talk today, and you'll hear it later, but talk about, everyday things just being so much easier. When you have 60 pounds off your body and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of weight off my body, but I do know that I have more energy than I ever thought that I would doing it, because the workouts are so hard. You immediately think that's going to take away from your day because you killed yourself for an hour. Whereas one person got their ass kicked for an hour. You think you're not going to have much gas left. But man, does it give you more energy. And it really does wake you up. It really does get your day going. I'm contemplating getting that 5 a.m. class in. I'm really contemplating it, but just the idea of waking up an hour earlier at 4:30 instead of 5:30 is so daunting. It's only an hour. Yeah. I think the same way when I get up some mornings and I don't feel so great to go into the gym and I do skip it.
Right.
What usually keeps me from doing it is I begin up at 6:30 anyways. It's only an hour earlier. It's so dumb. Get in, get that hour done, and you're fine. But
in order for me to do that, I have to go to sleep at 8:30. I have to lay down in bed at 8:30. If I don't fall asleep right, that's with my little wiggle room,
right?
To go to sleep, maybe a half hour or so.
Yeah, that's early to bed.
But if I don't get to bed like that, 4 a.m. really sucks.
Well, that's the thing is you don't want to go in there dragging ass. You want to go in and I got to get a night's rest. Now all the studies are, eating healthy, getting exercise, and sleep 7 to 8 hours every single night. And I probably average about 6.5. Because I always stay up too late and watch TV. I always got fucking a Mad Men episode to watch or
really?
Something.
You still hooked on Mad Men?
Yeah, the new season the final season just started, and I'm just finishing Netflix's version of last year's season.
Oh, okay.
So I'm almost caught up. But I obviously invest my time in stupid shit and don't invest it in the things I should, which is going to bed an hour earlier. But it's so good.
Well, we're gonna have to change our ways. We're going to have to start taking baby steps because Primal Scream. We just met with our first sponsor the other day. Yeah. I couldn't sleep that night.
I couldn't sleep either. And it's so silly because, it's really awesome of him hooking this up, and I'm really excited to have them as a sponsor. But it's not some fucking, that might pay us $100,000 to advertise with us, It's a very small step, but it's very exciting.
It's the first step. It's the first step in understanding that portion of making a show. We started doing this because we enjoyed our conversations.
Right.
And we kind of thought, well, there might be 1 or 2 people that would enjoy listening to it as well. And let's just dip our toe in the water. Well, now we've kind of moved ourselves from that tiny little puddle that we were in, and we're just now looking at a much bigger pond.
Yeah, for sure.
That could open up for us.
Yeah, and it really is exciting. Again, this is like things in the past when we've talked about political things, and you've said things like, why don't you go run for office or something? Just not sure I can devote the time to it because of what my job is.
Yeah, for sure.
There are times with this that it's too important now for me that I'm not willing to sacrifice the time. And so I don't think I could ever be a politician because I think you'd have to love it. You have to want to do it and have to love to do it. Otherwise, there are times I'm just like, okay, God, gotta get over there and get this stuff done, But once I'm here and I'm doing it, I love it. It's just like getting yourself sometimes to get in the door and get started.
Yeah. So. When I was a supervisor, there were things that I hated, for sure. But there was also things, and the things that I really loved had nothing to do with, I was going to say it had nothing to do with people. But it did. There was aspects of my job that were more trying to fine-tune the process to make the work flow easier for the people on the floor, which really didn't have a whole lot to do with, not what I liked had nothing to do with disciplinary action, didn't have anything to do with motivational speaking or anything like that. It was mainly just finding a project and trying to turn things around and making the people on the floor's life better. And I'm sure that for politicians, it's almost probably the same thing.
Right.
With just feeling like there's a lot of it that I hate.
Yeah, we talked about when we started talking to Matt about taxes. We talked about all the taxes and how to invest things and do things to try to help yourself out, so you're not paying so much in taxes, but you're still you're investing in the company. I'm just like, I don't want fucking anything to do with that. I'm not good at it. I can't wrap my head around it. I'd much rather people who are smart take care of that stuff. So I don't fuck it up. That's how I feel like.
Right.
Okay, I might be able to sit down with somebody and they can explain it to me and I can do all the things they want me to do. Excuse me. But I know that I'll fuck it up somehow because I'm just not a very analytical thinker when it comes to money and math.
Yeah. So, anymore, if you have, it's difficult. I would say like 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, people had this whole term of multitasking.
Right.
Before multitasking came about, you had specialists. You had people that's all that they did. And for you to say, I'm multitasking, I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to do a portion of the accountant's job, and I'm going to do a portion of the advertiser's job. It was really, I think, kind of unheard of. And then we all started multitasking. And now I'm at this age, we're starting this new thing where it's like, I can't multitask enough.
Right.
At some point, I had to start delegating. I had to start having people do other processes so that I can actually say hello to my wife and throw the ball around with my kids. Otherwise, to do just this simple show, to do this simple podcast,
right,
and to start doing advertising, you got to start doing like a sketchbook of how you're going to do advertising. So
ledger.
A ledger.
All I could think when he said ledger, all I could think about was the Untouchables with Kevin Costner. They're always trying to find the guy who was running the books for
Al Capone.
He had the ledger, and it literally was a humongous book that said ledger on it. And so when he kept saying ledger, that's all I thought it was the Untouchables. See, that's why I shouldn't be doing anything with math. It's just, it doesn't work. Right away, I'm like, oh, movies. That's great. He's talking about fucking money and important shit.
This is reality. No, it's not. It is not reality. That is not what you're doing.
Exactly why. My brain does not work that way. I've really tried to.
But, from last September till now, we've built a website, which we never knew how to do that before. We got media on a
Let's make sure we say we on certain things. You started a website. No, don't use me, as you did the website. You did that stuff. You did a great job.
We all worked together, though. I mean, we got our media. We figured out how to record. We figured out how to. It was just baby steps. And one of the guys that was working out at CrossFit today is a teacher, and I was saying, "Oh, so what do you teach? Computers. Oh, that's interesting. So like what about computers do you teach?" And he goes, "Well, I have 7th graders that are doing web design," and fucking jaw dropped because I thought to myself, there's a fucking 7th grader, probably 6th grader out there, and they could understand my website so much better than I could. Right. And they could probably design a website better than I could. And this is standard.
Right.
This is standard now for a 7th grader.
Well, think of the learning curve too. I mean, I learned at their age, I was still doing typing on a typewriter. That's how I learned to type. Yeah, with the white tape that you went back and click. Oh, damn it, that's another S. It looks wrong. You know what I mean? Right. You had to be.
There's gonna be some people out there like, what? You did a what?
With the typewriter. I mean, I know there are people that really like to go back and they still like to type on a typewriter. I could never imagine typing. I make so many errors when I type. I would not imagine when I do a typewriter. I would think you'd probably get good at it though. If you had to be on a typewriter, you'd probably be like, I can't keep making these goddamn mistakes, But I like the idea of typewriters because now that's a new shtick is to get a typewriter.
Before we go too far, do we have any current events?
Well, I did want to touch on. I think the one that you mentioned a little bit ago was probably one of the bigger ones. Did they talk about why Special Forces soldiers are committing suicide at a higher rate now than ever before? Are they attributing that to just the same old PTSD stuff?
Now listen, I'm getting this off of RT, okay, and. You know what? Anymore now, I feel like I have to.
You do have to.
I have to preface what I'm about to say with. I don't know if there's any news agency out there that doesn't slant something in a certain way, or the editors don't tell their news anchors to say, paint this in this type of picture,
right.
Paint it with this type of color scheme.
Well, and now that we know people have left that company because of their being forced to say positive things about Russia. I do take RT with a grain of salt now. It's just that simple.
I'll just read the first couple paragraphs. And this is from RT. I'll leave the link on the description below. U.S. Special Forces have been committing suicide at record levels for the last 2 years. The head of the U.S. Special Forces, or Special Operations Command, SOCOM, admitted in a speech on Thursday he blamed the high numbers on the length and difficulty of combat. Well, no shit. How can you fight a war when the objective is not clear? You can't fight a war on terror.
And it's never ending. It's like a waterfall. You're never gonna get. The war on terror is an unending thing. It's never gonna be finished.
Yeah,
I think to me that's why it was called and named the War on Terror, so they could have perpetual war. That's just. That's my opinion about it, but I know I'm not alone.
He also put in there. This is a quote from the person: "Is there's a lot of angst. There's a lot of pressure out there. My soldiers have been fighting now for 12, 13 years in hard combat. Hard combat." Admiral William McRaven.
12, 13 years. I've said in this podcast a number of times in the past, I can't imagine being in a situation where I'm being attacked or somebody's trying to kill me. 10, 12, 13 years sounds like a prison sentence.
Yeah, well, it is. And he also went on to say, and anybody that has spent any time in this war has been changed by it. It's that simple. Well, I don't even know how I feel about our previous wars. Do I have the right outlook? Do I really have the real information about our previous wars, why we went to war, what was it like?
Yeah.
Again, I'll talk about Band of Brothers, which it's about as historically factual as possible, because you actually have older gentlemen who are telling the story of what they went through. Well, right. They're there. That you always start out with them telling a story at the beginning of the episode or at the end of the episode, and of course you have actors playing out these scenes. But in that show, it was a real eye opener for me when at the end of the series they're coming across concentration camps for Jews, and nobody knew anything about it. And to me, when I saw that, it was really shocking to me, because I thought, well, isn't that why we were there? The majority of why I thought we were there, majority of it was because I thought that was happening.
We have hit on this in a recent podcast, because I knew that we didn't. That's not what we went to stop Hitler, because he was so close to getting Great Britain. That's why we went. We came across the concentration camps, and those were we figured out how horrible Hitler was. But we didn't
know that until the end of the war.
I think we actually argued about this, because I don't remember learning that at all in school, that this is why we went, because concentration camps and what they were doing to the Jews. That's not what I was taught in school. And you're thinking that, but that's what you were taught.
That was the overwhelming impression that I have of why we went to war.
And that could be the muddling down of history to teach to kids, instead of trying to talk about the geopolitics involved in a world war and say, this guy was a bad guy, he was doing these things, we thought he was going to take over the world, we were next, he was right across the water from us in France, so we went in to protect ourselves, we found these things happening. Instead of talking about all that mess, he was a bad guy, killed a lot of people, we wanted to stop him. It probably is a simpler story to tell kids. And I'm not convinced, and this goes back to a good buddy of mine and I have a book that we love to talk from, which is called Things My Teacher Didn't Tell Me, from history.
The Lies My Teacher Told Me, I thought.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's
the Lies
it.
My Teacher Told Me?
Yeah. And in that, there's a lot more information, but it's not, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to leave out some of the things that are really kind of minute and important. And I'm not saying that kids can't handle things, but as a 17-year-old, I just wanted to get fucking done with school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Give me the basics. Let's keep this going. Now, if I really want to get in and find out what's going on in the world, I'm going to learn that in college. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to find that information out. So, Lies My Teacher Told Me was really pretty much just a leaving out of information. It wasn't like, my teacher made a point of saying, "Oh, I didn't tell you this because I wanted to keep you in the shadows, keep you blind to the truth." It was more of like, this is just generic history. But then you can take it one step further and say maybe that's an issue all in itself.
Well, the teachers teach from the textbooks that they receive. You write your lesson plan off the materials that you're going to get.
Right.
So if those books are written from a certain state or a certain company that is going to slant something a certain way, it's just so fucking iffy, you know. I wish I had the certainty in my country in what I see in the news. I wish I had that sense of certainty that I used to. It's just completely gone. I am untrusting of almost everything.
Well, and I think part of the problem now too is people are rewriting history to fit the things that they want it to fit. You know, I mean, our founding fathers weren't Christians. You know, they were Unitarian. You know, they believed in God, but they weren't these fundamentalist born-again Christians, not by any stretch of the imagination. And to say that they were is just simply not true. And I think like Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, parts 1 and 2, there's 2 books, doesn't tell you anything other than things that took place in this country during certain time periods. And so it's like, to me, that's factual. On this date, this happened. If you want to go look into the archives of the city that was at, you'll find the information there. I mean, what do you call it, the back of the book where all the dates and all the pages and things are, all the information, footnotes and things.
Okay, sure.
It's just chock full of them so that you can go and find for yourself the data that's there, you know?
Oh.
Instead of me just saying on TV, oh, our founding fathers were, you know, oh, they all believed this. Well, come on. It's 200-something years ago. Don't tell me you know what somebody believed. You read in a book that somebody told you that they believed this, but don't tell me you know jack shit. But I'm certainly not going to say that.
I'll tell you what, if our founding fathers had podcasts and they talked for 3 hours at a time, and you were like, I really think I got a pretty good sense of who this fucking guy was, because he put, over 400 episodes of 2 or 3 hours each, and he's just shooting the shit with somebody. You got a pretty good sense of who that person is.
Well, and I think that's why libertarians, when they come back to constitutionality of things, I think that's why they are so focused on that, because it really is the only thing that we have that's very point blank and factual from the founding fathers.
Yeah,
I think that's why they focus on that, which is one of the things I really appreciate about that point of view, because it really is from this document. You know, now I do think it's a living, growing document that can be changed and can be adjusted for sure, because we all change.
That's the scary thing, though. Once you say that something can be changed, it's easily co-opted.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
Easily money can be thrown at something. I mean, just look at how I'm going to bring up the Nevada cattle guy he was just doing like a standoff. I mean, it really reminded me of Waco.
Well, and you know what's weird is I didn't hear when I read anything about it. All I read about was I didn't hear anything about these turtles or whatever fucking thing about the desert that he was in.
So what do you read about?
All I've heard about is pretty much the standoff that a bunch of armed militia arrived armed and ready to physically help him.
Well, they show, as far as I know, and I could be wrong because I only get my stuff off the internet, and who knows,
right?
But I think. Well, what I feel that I know, and what I think a lot of people out there have a feeling of, was there was some tomfoolery. There was some bullshit about to happen.
Yeah. And
whether it's true or not, they're saying that there's oil reserves now under that guy's land.
Well, because they've had a bunch of, we call it like test sites.
Okay. And, you and I have had conversations about guns before.
Sure.
And I've gotten the feeling, or you might have even stated, it's really silly. Why would you think that by you having a gun, you're going to protect yourself from the government? Right? Do you really think that you're going to be able to stand up against the government with a gun?
I thought you said that. I thought you said that the government has like the latest, greatest shit all the time, and there's no fucking way that you and all your guns could stand up to them. 'Cause I thought that was going off of what you said.
So you thought it was me, and I thought it was
No,
you.
I'm sure I said it. I'm sure I said something about that, but I went off of the idea originally of you saying a long time ago before we were podcasting, saying the stuff the government has is light years ahead of any weapon that we can buy somewhere.
Right, and we'll touch on a story about that in a second. And you're correct.
Well, I'm not trying to deny it. I'm just saying that I thought that we came off that one as one source.
But okay, how about I say this? We've both said it.
Okay.
We've both said the fact that Can you really? What would have to happen?
Yeah.
For you to say to the police or whoever, I'm armed, fucker. This is my private property. Do not come on my private property. Do not touch my private things. You have no right to it.
Yeah.
So what would have to happen? Well, clearly this happened. And so they started taking this guy's cattle and penning them all up. And the militia rolls in with guns. And truly, at that point, that's when I believe it was the sheriff in that county or whatever stepped forward and said, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, things are getting way out of hand here.
Right.
Let's try to figure it out a different way.
Well, and I think a lot of it was happening in public areas where there are people with cameras and all kinds of shit. So it was one of those things. But unfortunately, the government has got themselves in so many fucking pickles throughout their history of fucking people over.
Yeah,
where it seemed like a shady deal. You know,
what did the FCC do? Do you know what the FCC did?
Yeah, they shut down the cell towers and
they had to reroute planes because they wouldn't allow any transmissions in the area. That's some pretty fucking crooked, sketchy shit.
It's sketchy.
Very sketchy shit. Because if you're all on the up and up, you know, like we have the big push right now is to have police officers with cameras on them at all times.
Right.
Right. And in one study, they said, you know, the complaints about
86%
police have really dropped.
Yeah, significantly.
Huge.
Yeah.
Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, motherfucker. So if you want things to be on the up and up, and you want things to be transparent,
right,
President Obama, then that's how you gain trust. You put a camera on, or if you allow people to broadcast something, and if you're doing everything by the book,
yeah,
and you're in the right,
it's freedom of speech.
You shouldn't have
until somebody turns off all the radios. You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Well, that's when there's a blackout, when they're rerouting planes, then you're thinking, all right, this is some sketchy shit, and you're making me pissed off. And then the militia rolls in, and that's what stops. Right. That's what gets everybody to take a breath when you actually have a bunch of people roll in with weapons. And you're like, no, you're not taking this guy's cattle. We're going to release the cattle. I mean, the militia were the ones that actually, as far as I know, removed the cattle from the pens and let the cattle go out.
Yeah. That's what I read too. And I read that from CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. They all have the same take on it.
Yeah, I will give
Fox, definitely rolled with the
government.
No, Jesus Christ! Thank God these militiamen flew in from all over the United States and helped.
I'm actually kind of surprised by that. I'm actually kind of surprised by that because Fox is usually, it seems to me, very pro government,
Republican government. Yeah. Well, I mean, all these militia are Republicans. I mean, that's my point. Is that, and so is the rancher. So it was against Obama's government, so to speak, who's trying to take over everything and fuck over the little guy and stuff like that. So.
And it almost seems like common sense is gone anymore. When you take a normal everyday person like the cattle rancher. His sister actually came out and was doing an interview on Fox News, and she was kind of funny because she started laughing at the end, kind of smacked the reporter, kind of hugged him and smacked him, like, oh, I forgot to say this. Boom. She kind of hits him, kind of like what I would do to you.
Okay. Perfect.
Very playful and kind of silly. But she says, my brother, my family has been farming and raising cattle on this land for 100 and some years. Guess how? And they've been able to coexist with these turtles.
Right.
So why is it all of a sudden now a big deal?
Well, that's when that whole entire thing with the natural gas and oil reserves that they think they have found there. The turtle to me was an excuse. If that's really what they talked about, it was just it's just a pure excuse.
It sounds a little bit like weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I'm with you, where it just all seemed a little sketchy. It's just disappointing. But it's like, somebody saying, Russia can't invade another country like Ukraine or Crimea and stuff like that. I'm just like, we just need to be fucking quiet. We really have no ground to stand on to bring those things up, unless you want to sit back. I mean, I guess that's again why I like libertarian points of view when it comes to foreign policy and Ron Paul. If we stepped back If we completely stepped back from everything and said,
hey,
you know what,
is none of our fucking business.
We've been fucking around too much. We've overthrown democratic governments, assassinated people, put in horrible people in their place so that we can control them.
Hey, listen,
and eventually got out of control.
Don't be an America hater.
It's not an American hater. It's just the idea.
No, that's what some people say when
Sure.
you start spouting facts like that. Then people are. Hey.
Well, I think the important part is that we're trying to get America back to a standing where it says we have moral ground to stand on because we have made the right choices. We don't go in and fuck with people's governments. We don't go in and take over things. We don't invade countries that we don't need to invade. I mean, it seems pretty much straightforward now. Great pour. It seems pretty straightforward now that everybody understands that we went in for the wrong reasons in Iraq. And so,
but we're still there.
Again, those things that we brought up in the very beginning about these guys that are still killing themselves because they've been at battle for 12 years, it goes back to that idea that Bush and Cheney have some war crimes to hold themselves. They need to be held accountable for. You know, they said we were going to, Cheney to this day says he would do it all again the same way.
That's really stupid. To me, I'm
not sure it's stupid or if it's just like fucking crazy arrogant. Like, me make a change, be different.
What? Maybe you can say that if it didn't affect you at all. If all you did was profit from it, if all you did was made money from it, if none of your relatives died from it, if nobody that you cared about died from it, then maybe you would say, fuck it, I'd do it all again. Who cares? Who gives a shit?
Well, I didn't have anybody die in that war. You know, I didn't gain anything or lose anything by them going to war. So, but my first thought is we lost hundreds and thousands of Iraqi people in all that, thousands of soldiers. To me, that right there says, you know what, maybe we should have stepped back and looked at things differently. You know, but yeah, the hubris is just bad. Man, when I hear him talk, it just like, and there's a new movie out with Rumsfeld.
What?
Rumsfeld has a new movie out, it's a documentary somebody did about him. And there's like...
Can't wait to see that.
Oh, dude. Jon Stewart had the guy on who directed it. Yeah. And the guy was just like, you have not met people until you meet these guys. It's unbelievable how
arrogant they are.
How arrogant and how absolutely unapologetic they are, period. You know, Cheney still to this day says, you know, I don't believe in interrogation is torture, even though waterboarding was something that we hung people for at The Hague after World War II because they did it to our people. You know, so it's muddying the waters, it's moving the goalposts, it's doing anything that fit what you did. You know, and this documentary, they showed a scene of this documentary where somebody was talking to him about what do you do things differently, what would you know, and the way they edited the movie was pretty good because he is chuckling and laughing about these things, right? These decisions that he made. Is he laughing or chuckling because it's like the billionth time somebody's asked him that, and he's just like, "Oh, Jesus." Fuck. No, it's more of I
gotta answer this question again.
No, it's more of like he's laughing and chuckling because why would I make any other choice? Why would I ever do anything differently than what I did? I had these things in front of me, and this is the choice that I made. And they have this like ominous music playing kind of in the background with him chuckling and laughing, and it just makes him seem like Darth Vader's sidekick. I mean, it's just horrible. It's really, really bad. But I mean, again, I don't know. I would think that as a human being, you would say, you know what? I talk about that all the time. You know, I fuck up all the time. You know what I mean? I
actually do fuck up all the time.
I make poor decisions. I make poor decisions all the time where I'm like, oh, fuck, what did I do that for? You know, or, oh, God, I know better. Why did I do that again? You know what I mean?
It's human nature. I mean, to me, it's human nature to say that's just an understanding. That's just the way we all are.
Right.
Everybody's going to do that. So to say you're not going to learn from your mistakes, you're not going to 5 years from now, am I going to look back and go, okay, the opinion I had on episode 32, maybe shouldn't have said that, you know, or I've grown. It's okay to say I've grown, I've learned, I see a different point of view, I have more facts, any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, even
natural.
Even Colin Powell, who is now probably, you know, he's a pariah because he stepped up and said we probably shouldn't have gone in. You know, weapons of mass destruction didn't exist. He started saying these things, and right away he's a rhino. In the Republican fight.
Oh, Republican
in name
only.
It's just like, so you can't admit it wrong. You can't admit that I fucked up, or I might have made a bad choice. Am I going to vote for somebody? Or I'm never. Yeah. Oh my God, he made a mistake. Fuck, I'm not going to vote for him. He's not a perfect human being. Jesus Christ. I don't have the understanding behind people who are like, you have to be infallible. Well, it's just not possible. And so it's like every dick pic from, Wiener, everything that happened, it's like, so nobody can have any faults at all. It's okay to have faults. It's okay to fuck up and still be a good politician. And I'd say that for Republicans too, these guys who are like anti-gay and they're horrible people, and it comes out they're gay. Who fucking cares? Can he be a good politician?
Can he do his job?
Can he do his job? God, I don't care.
Is he getting results? Are things happening?
Are his constituents where he lives getting what they need because they had hired him to do that job? Then go for it.
How about this? I have smoked pot in the past. I drink. I like watching porn. I like watching hardcore porn.
Is this
There's things like that.
Confessional?
Matt, 2016. Boom!
Right.
How hard is it to say I'm laying all my cards out on the table? This is who I am.
Right.
And if you like it, if you want me to represent you, if you want me to truly look at the facts and say, okay, all these laws really only benefit the 1%. I'm not trying to villainize the 1%, but when you have so much money, if you watch any of the TED Talks,
oh yeah.
There's some really great TED Talks out there that scientists are saying, now this is what we've done, and these are the experiments that we've done, and what we can extrapolate from this is when you have so much money, it's so much easier to say, it's okay. I'll figure out a way to deal with that decision I've made because it's going to benefit me. It's going to work out in my favor. Right. And it's so much easier to do that.
Well, now it's a proven fact that, like Matt Taibbi, I think we talked about this last time, people who are white and wealthy don't have to go to prison. If you're black and you're poor, you will go to prison. It's just that simple for very similar crimes and very similar issues. Because you have the money to take care of it.
You talked about, Rumsfeld not thinking that waterboarding is torture. Being locked in a cage without having any power over your life to do anything you want, even if you want to end your life, having that being removed from your possibilities, that is maddening to me. That seems like torture right there.
I guess I don't agree.
To be put in a cage isn't torture?
I'm getting to the point now, this is terrible, that I think that if I still fall into that vein that if somebody took another person's life, they probably should not have their life anymore. It seems pretty simple.
No, I don't have any problem with that. I'm saying being put in a cage to live out the rest of your life for 20, 40, 60 years is torture.
Yeah.
Get used to getting butt raped, and
imagine
that's
being
the
16.
best part of your day.
We have 16-year-olds who have life in prison. They're 16. With the idea that when your brain isn't done developing until you're 20, 21. That's when your brain is fully developed.
And I was still a jackass till I was about 28.
Exactly. So the idea that we imprison 16, 17-year-olds...
Still a little bit of a jackass.
You are. It's okay. That's why we love you. If you're still one of those kids, with your brain developing, how do we hold you accountable? Because, you and I, Denise, talked about how my kid jacked up the Xbox bill for us, and I was like, God damn it, he knew better. Yeah. No, it's temptation. It's hard. He has to learn how to control that impulsivity. And I'm like, okay, but at what point do I start do I say no? I've told you too many times. So a 16-year-old murders somebody.
Yeah, but at what point do we have to look at our society and say, okay, really, this is probably the reason why all this fucking craziness. The real reason, the real true root cause of all these problems that that are nickel and diming us to death, which, a kid taking kitchen knives and stabbing people at school, or school shootings, or teen violence, or gangs, or any of this stuff, obesity and health epidemic. Don't you think it all boils down to the fact that we can't have the old standard of a family anymore, where one person works, where we're not trying to consume every fucking thing that we see, that one person stays home with the kids, that there's a loving environment, that somebody has a solid, stable job, that the kids, when kids grow up, they can have a solid, stable job. There's not a fear of, I have to do this or I'm screwed. And I have to indebt myself. Is it in debt? Is that?
Yeah. Or I'll become indebted to something. Yeah.
Okay. For college loans.
Sure.
For me to
and have a nice and grow up in a nice community with your neighbors and all that kind of stuff.
All of this, and you're jam packed. I mean, you're shoulder to shoulder with fucking people. Where as before is like, I might have to drive 5 minutes to see somebody.
Right.
People are gonna go fucking crazy when kids are playing nothing but shoot 'em up games, when they're completely detached from their parents and other friends and running around and using their imagination. I'm sure there was some tomfoolery, some bullshit that happened back in the day before Xbox was created.
Sure.
Back in the 60s and 70s when you didn't have shit before Atari. I'm sure there was some bad stuff that happened. But when you raise a population that we have to the extent of how many people we have nowadays, it's almost like, you almost have to step back and go, this is what's going to fucking happen. This is the natural way people are going to fucking freak out. People that need to be in insane asylums are going to just be given some meds and told to go back home. There's people that just don't have the chemical whatever in the head to make decent decisions. And so nowadays, we say, okay, just be part of our society. That's totally fine. Oh, you're a sex offender. You like to have sex with little kids. You just have to tell your neighbors that you're a sex offender. You're on the sex offender registry, and you can live right down the street. What the fuck? There's something mentally wrong with you. People shouldn't be ashamed to say you're wrong. What you're feeling, what you're thinking is a wrong way to be.
And I don't want you in my community.
And I don't want you anywhere near my kids or
community. I can understand your point with that. But so then where do they go and what do they do?
What did we used to do?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know either. But what we used to have was like a natural selection of the strong survive type of a thing. And now with our medical advancement, there is no strong survive. It's the weakest.
Right.
We fight fucking tooth and nail to raise up the weakest of us all. If
Hunters say that a lot too.
Really?
That we really need to start going back and taking out the weak of the deer, or whatever it is, because we've killed so many huge fucking trophy bucks that the populations now are getting all fucked up because all the weaklings are now the studs and they're producing more fucking weaklings. I've heard that quite a few times now.
At what point do we start looking at the human race the same way we look at animals? We really look at the human race like we look at animals.
Well, I think that Joe Rogan had Joel Salatin in on. He was a farmer, that poly farmer guy.
Poly farming,
and he polyface farming. Sorry,
okay.
And he talked about that. When you detach yourself from Mother Nature, when you have a problem with your pigs because you're doing confinement farming, and so all you're doing is pumping them full of the next best antibiotic because the bugs keep changing and shit keeps happening, instead of taking them back to a very natural state and realizing that once you put them in a natural environment, they handle it much better. They thrive. And the end of his podcast was he talked to the governor of Governor of Virginia, because that's where his main farm is.
Okay.
Right along the border with West Virginia. It's like 2 hours from an hour and a half from my sister's house. And so I'm thinking that next time I go out there, you can get farm tours, and I think I might make the drive and go.
Very nice.
But he talked about how the governor of the state said, what would you do if I said, hey, let's make this, because he talked about pigs, not confined, but they run their pigs through the forests that live around them. And so the pigs eat all the weeds, eat all the bugs that kill the trees, all this stuff. So it's a very copacetic kind of situation.
Nice
right?
word, copacetic.
And he said, "How about you let us run pigs through our national parks? It'll help the trees. It'll help out, a lot of brush that gets built up, and a lot of invasive species. Pigs they churn in the soil like fucking crazy. It's like a natural." Tiller, yeah, absolutely, but in a good way because they eat a lot of bugs and stuff.
That's my impersonation of running a tiller.
I was thinking the tiller like on a combine kind of tiller.
Oh,
but the governor just kind of smiled and chuckled because he's just like, "Come on, there's no fucking way we're gonna do that. Are you kidding me?
Come on, tree hugger, that ain't gonna work."
I guess the guy came out and toured his farm and said, "This is incredible what you do here." He's like, "But come on, because Joe Rogan really was pounding the shit out of him, saying, could you feed 330 million people with what you're talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, of course I can." But it's not run on cheap fucking fuel. It's not run on oil. It's not run on antibiotics from Big Pharma. It's not run on all these things. And to turn this country into the farming mecca that it should be the right way would turn the farming industry on its head. And everybody who's raking in hundreds of millions of dollars right now would stop doing that. So it just won't happen. And so again, I was listening to today while I was grocery shopping,
and
my first thought was like,
completely fall apart. Things have to almost completely fall apart.
Or you detach. So you
go and do a commune.
Yeah, you and I find a piece of property.
Why do you always suck me into these communes,
no,
Todd?
It's you and I. A commune is just not two. It's just two people, two families. So
That's
we have our 20 acres. We have our houses that have a bridge between, so we can have breakfast together in the morning.
Listen,
and
is my wife going to be able to do It Works? Because if she can't do It Works, if we don't have a satellite or...
I don't think you can say It Works on the show.
Why?
Your wife said that she made a big deal about that, so making sure we don't say anything about It Works.
I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying, I'm not saying anything about It Works.
Oh, that she can still do her business?
I'm not making any claims about the products that It Works.
But my first thought was like, and so... I mean, you and I both still have our jobs. So we produce 100 fucking chickens. And then we produce, we have 12 or 13 chickens that are always laying eggs. And we have 10 cows that walk in the field. And we have 10 pigs that walk in the field. Our two families can't fucking eat all that in a year. But there is the foundation of a good protein source right there. We have fucking gardens. I mean, we could still have our jobs, we could still do what we're doing, and we don't have long hair and have big, dinners together. But
I can't grow long hair.
I don't know why I said that. I was thinking commune, probably. That's a terrible stereotype.
Do we have
it's
to
all
stink?
Hippies.
Do we have to stink?
We all have to smell bad. Use natural deodorant that doesn't work.
Okay.
Things like that. But it seems like that's what you have to go back to. I mean, it's really the only way to make sure that you're getting what you need the right way is making sure that you are sustainable. We grow a bunch of fucking vegetables and we can the shit out of stuff and we freeze it. I couldn't kill a cow, so that'd be kind of hard to figure out.
Here's your problem.
What is my problem?
And it's the same problem that I think is it's a very invasive weed almost in our society, which is no, we can still do our job and do podcasting and do this. No, the idea of
if we were just podcasting for a living, we could be farmers on the side.
Sure,
fuck yeah,
hell yeah. It's raining. We're podcasting and we're drinking. The idea of multitasking was such a horrible, horrible thing that happened to the U.S. people, to the workers, to everybody. Because when you multitask, I'm now doing my job and your job. I'm working twice as hard, and that's only 2 jobs. And most people are doing 2, 3, 4 jobs.
Right.
So that's 3 other people who they don't have jobs. We do not work well. I think the stress, I think there's so much that you have to do. If you and I did I don't know why I keep throwing myself in with you, but if you and I did a farm like that, no shit.
It's habitual. Go ahead.
But if you and I did a farm like that, that would be the only thing we could do, that and podcast. But I can't work 12-hour days.
I don't see. I disagree,
and then come home.
I disagree because especially after watching the polyface farming guy, it looks like you get systems down that they're running kind of on their own. So you have the chickens who are your roasters are in a rolling pen that over a certain area of the field. So cows are in one field, pigs are in another, right? Or in timber. Your egg layers are all over the place as well, but your roasters are in almost like a humongous pen that's kind of rolling along, so they get a lot of different area to feed. Mm-hmm. So that thing runs on that works on its own. You move it a little bit every day or so, and the next day they're all on another field, and you bring the fucking pigs in, and they have that field. So I don't think. I mean, you may have to have somebody at home or one manager that can help you with that. But again, that would be one guy who's like, you give me a dozen eggs every week, you give me a part of a cow and part of a pig, I'm going to be happy. You know,
not a lot of people say, give me some eggs and give me half a pig and I'm happy. A lot of people usually fall back on money.
Maybe it's money.
But here's something I've thought about quite a bit, because I've thought eventually our economy is going to crash. Eventually, you just cannot continue to print money from nothing. You can't continually print money and not have a gold standard. You can't
and raising stocks to the point where you're always growing every year. It never stops.
I'm not saying it's going to be this year or next year or 5 years from now. Eventually, though, the United States is going to be like any other empire. It's going to be like any other empire. It's going to be like Rome or anywhere else, and it's going to fucking completely collapse. And people start thinking about, well, what will we do? My thing is, which amazes me, is why can't we continue to do what we're doing? Yeah. Why can't people? There's no physical reason why, besides some person, some bigwig, some 1%er not getting money, why I can't turn a switch on, and why, you know what? The economy crashed, but I'm a bread maker. I'm still going to get up this morning, and I'm still going to go over there, and I'm still going to grab the dough, and I'm still going to make bread, and it's still going to go out. The variety of food may change, and farmers in the immediate area might have to say, oh, shit, we can't all just fucking grow corn.
For fuel, for cars.
And soybeans. Yeah. We might have to be, more well-rounded. Right. A lot of other vegetables and shit. But I don't see why we couldn't continue.
Yeah, I don't see why either. It seems like one of those things where people, they have to. I mean, it has to all collapse. It has to be a calamity. It has to be some kind of like Armageddon kind of thing.
Yeah, but the idea is that it wouldn't be able to continue. I mean, that's the kind of the fear that we put out on there, is like, if the economy collapses, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, if we don't vote on this, if we don't do that, then the way of life as we know it will end. It might, but the way that we're living, maybe we should have. I think
the whole
maybe it shouldn't be
the whole debt ceiling thing is the stupidest fucking thing in the world. It drives me crazy. Yeah. So they're agreeing to pay back our debts. So in other words, stop spending so much money so we have to keep paying back our debts. But why would we have to come to a point to agree to continue to pay them? We have already made the bills. The bills are already there. We have to pay off our debtors. Now, that's a fucked up issue in and of itself. But don't talk to me about...
Why is it fucked up to pay our debtors? So why is it fucked up to pay our debt?
No, it's not. I'm saying that don't make it an issue that we all have to agree we're going to pay. Yeah, so my wife and I have to agree that we have to write our mortgage check every week, But she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too expensive. We're going to stop paying our debt. Well, Jesus Christ, how can we? Nobody can do that.
No,
so that's the whole point. So to make an issue of the debt ceiling, to me, is fucking ridiculous, and it's a golden calf off somewhere. So people just like get all pissed off about it.
What'd be funny is when this happens every year.
Golden calf. I don't know where that came from. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think I only listened to you halfway.
I think you're right.
Because you said the golden calf thing, and then you corrected yourself.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I'm
sitting here still thinking, did you say that?
Yeah, I said that. I'm not sure why still. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
But to me, it'd be interesting if this happens about once a year and politicians bring up the whole debt ceiling thing. And it would be interesting to me. It would be enjoyable. I would pay. This would be like a pay-per-view event. If all of a sudden we could just take. Whoa.
Careful to hurt yourself.
Take all of our congressmen who are making a big fucking deal about this and put them in a room and have them sit down somewhere and have normal, rational people come in and go, you're a fucking loser. You're stupid and you're playing on our fears. You're so much like a terrorist without the vest bomb. The bomb vest.
Yeah.
All you're doing is trying to scare the fuck out of everybody. You're trying to incite terror. You're trying to scare the fuck out of people so that we choose to go one way or the other. Bitch, you have no reason not to pay back the money that you need to pay.
Right.
People performed a task. We
can have disagreements about having more debt and having
Sure.
to continue to make more debt to keep paying debtors. To me, that's a genuine argument.
Right. But here's the funny thing. If you go to Bankrupting America on YouTube, there's a couple other YouTube sites. I'll try to remember to put them on the description. But they explain the debt ceiling very, very well. And I think there's a lot of people that have a misunderstanding of the debt ceiling and what it means to raise the debt ceiling or not to raise the debt ceiling and what that process is. So really quickly, the process of creating this thing, the budget, a debt ceiling, all this stuff, Congress creates a budget, okay? The Congress. And then once they agree on the budget, they send it to the president and the president signs it, okay? Now the president is obligated to spend the money and perform all the tasks that were in that budget. Well, all the tasks get done. He runs out of money. Now he's saying, he goes back to the Congress and says, hey, remember that thing that you created, Congress? You guys made this thing. Remember those obligations that you made me sign off and on, that we've had all the work done on? Well, you fucked up and you didn't give me enough money to actually perform all the tasks that you are making me do. So we need to raise the debt ceiling so I can pay for all the shit that you told me I had to do.
Or you agreed to, either way.
Or you agree to. And that's when Congress goes, oh, well, wait, no, that would mean raising the debt ceiling. Oh, I can't do that. Motherfucker, you created this.
You created the fear-mongering for it, for sure.
You made this budget. It's your fault. If there's any fault to be had, it's yours because you created this. You can't point at the president of the United States because you're saying, oh, the president wants us to raise the debt ceiling. He's asking you to pay for the fucking shit that you
wanted to have in the first place.
Yeah, it's your fault. It amazes me that we don't put more blame on the Congress because truly the president anymore is like just a figurehead. He's just the person that makes speeches. What power does he have? Congress and Senate have all the power. They pass all the fucking shit.
Yeah, but he
has is the veto.
Well,
all he can do is veto.
But that's one of those checks and balances, though, that's super important. So I think he does have a lot of power. But
they're the ones that create shit. He doesn't. The president of the United States does not sit in the Oval Office and write. He does not write a bill.
And he can push. But if he wants to have certain things done, he has to ask Congress to do some of them.
He can be influential.
But if he has something specific that he wants to do, he has to ask Congress to make sure he can do that. And so that's where that give and take happens. And it's like, you do something for me, I'll do something for you. I mean, I still am flabbergasted that they passed this whole entire healthcare bill, the Affordable Care Act, because it was a Republican, Congress that got it through. Well, it was the House, but it got passed. So it's still I think it's a good thing because everybody says that nobody's working together. They did pass that, But the hard part is this is the most unproductive Congress ever. It's like
ever.
Well, and it's funny, as John Boehner said, this is what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to pass every fucking bill and solve everybody's problems.
Rocky would totally agree with you that they should not pass bills and but
he would say they shouldn't pass bills that are going to infringe on people's liberty. Right. Boehner said that we shouldn't be passing bills, period, unless they're for something specific and something for the good. But like you said plenty of times, no fucking bill is passed in this country without a gazillion fucking things added to it to give people pork for something. It's still it's such a common part of the way we do politics now, that it's like a no-brainer, which I think that's where I think Rocky and I agree on, and that's why he wants things to change so much. It's got to stop where we're just fucking money everywhere to everybody's friends and everybody's buddies, you know.
Well, your money means nothing. My money means nothing, because what you and I could raise is such a pittance.
Yeah.
It is so
for us, even imagine
silly.
having this as our job, which would make, we would probably need to both make $60,000-$70,000 a year for it to replace our jobs now. That, I mean,
I'm sure there's lobbyists that spend more in an afternoon luncheon
right.
than we are going to make in a year off this podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
For sure.
Well, that's why I'm saying that if it became our jobs and we needed to make $70,000 a year, that's $140,000 a year, which is absolutely nothing for some people.
Now, for the first time, I will say this, and it has nothing to do with our sponsor, our future sponsor. We're not going to name them now because we haven't got all the facts and figures and worked out all the details. But it was my first. It was my first time coming to the point to where I thought to myself, I actually have to for a second have to think about, will my sponsor like what I'm saying?
Right.
Am I going to have to change the format of the show? Am I going to have to be somewhat like now?
That's why I said
right now this is organic.
Right.
Right now this is just off the cuff.
This is
What we think about. This is our opinions. This is what's in the news. This is what happened today, and we're trying to help out our friends, and we're trying to help out local businesses that we think are kick-ass.
right.
Very organic.
But we're also not going to compromise anything. And I said that in the meeting. I was like, this is exciting, and everything he had to say was wonderful, and he was a great dude for coming in and just taking his time to come talk to us about it. But my first thought was, I am not going to fucking compromise what we do.
At some point, I'm going to have that inner monologue with myself to say, I would rather make no money.
Yeah. No, that's it.
And continue having our own conversations, our own opinions.
That's it.
Then to feel like, well, yeah, you did give us X amount of dollars. Maybe we should say nice things.
It's funny because I think that's the things you bump into. Because, I mean, think of Jon Stewart. You know, I mean, I think of him. He definitely is a liberal guy. But his show doesn't change very much. And he has Republicans coming on. He has people that he doesn't agree with on that show, and they have great battles back and forth, you know. And Judge Politano, is that his name from Fox News that Rocky loves so much?
I think so.
He was on there, and man, they fucking go at it.
Oh, really?
Oh, they really do, in a really good way. Which, I mean, in my mind, it's the epitome of what we should be doing as a democracy. Yeah. It's just a battle, but it's a conversation, and it's a debate. And it's two very strict points of view.
Dude, that stuff might be going on, but we are presented with the theater of politics through the news. I'm just saying, in Washington, that these types of debates that happen, like what you were talking about, might actually be happening. But we don't see that stuff. We don't see
You're right.
It's common sense debates.
It's my assumption that it's like,
silliness.
Okay, well, hey, listen, I have a guy who's got this going on in this part of my state. He needs to get this one thing passed. Can we put that on there? Yeah, put that on there. And then in my state, this guy has this one thing going on. He needs some extra money for this. Okay, yeah, put that on there. It's only, $500,000. It'll be fine. I mean, that's what I see going on. That's the pork. That's the bullshit that I think is added to all. It's all those amendments that go on to bills. I mean, that's what those things are. I need help doing this. This guy's a donor. This guy helps me out, or this community needs these things, and so I need to give them extra money so they can reelect me next year. And I'm sure there are projects that they really truly believe in. This is really important. Yeah. But unfortunately, more than that, it's like my buddy down the street needs this, and I can hook him up because I work in Congress. We have fucking trillions of printable dollars to give away. So I'll hook you up. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. And this is how things work in Washington. That, to me, is my assumption of how things work.
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely right. The idea of you and I doing this, and we get so excited about the idea that at some point you could have this as a career, right?
Yeah.
$70,000 a year. People spend that on shoes for the year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Some people spend that in an afternoon shopping.
It's a pittance. You're absolutely right. It is an absolute pittance. There are cars that people buy that are 5 times more than that. You know what I mean? So I mean that's the hard part, is that you're right. It's such a nonchalant, money is such a casual thing, and I think that people who are in Washington and that are part of politics, and many of them, not all of them, money is just almost no object. You know, they spend their whole entire careers making money to run again, and they make sure they stay in positions and are put in positions by people who fund their campaigns, so they don't ever have to leave that job, and they keep funneling money to the right places. To me, that is what politics is. I don't see it working for the common man anymore. I just don't see it being that way. And that's why I think I go back to what you said about things collapsing. That's why I think it's not going to work. At some point, we're all going to be like, what the fuck is going on around here? Nothing is working like it should. Everybody in the upper echelon, in Congress, the 1%, they have all the cards and they're making all the plays. And we're just sitting here going, we're working every day. We're raising children. Right. You know, we're keeping people secure. We're doing whatever. And we get nothing. We get a pittance.
God damn you, House of Cards. If it wasn't for entertaining things like that, maybe we'd be able to focus.
Distraction.
But you know what? Politics, when we're talking about this, really reminds me of just regular, it's just human nature. It's a word that we put on human nature, politics is. Because I was at work the other day, and this guy that I know, I'm really good friends with, he was really pissed off at another coworker of ours because that coworker decided to go to days, and that bumped this person that I know to nights, and so he was holding this grudge against this other guy, and I said, you do know it wasn't personal, right? I mean, you do know that he didn't make that decision solely
to piss you off,
to hurt you and your family. Right? He's not sitting at home going, I fucked you.
Right. And what did he say?
All of us make decisions that are best for us. And once you understand that, I said, because I'm going to make a decision that's best for my family, for me, for my kids, for my wife. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to make a decision that completely fucks myself over just so that you can be happy for a few months. And he goes, you know what? I know that. But it still just makes me mad. To me, I think politics is like what I just described. There's so many of us. There's politicians that are out there. We think they're supposed to be acting in a certain way. They think and they know this is the best thing for them. It's human nature. You're going to do the best thing for you. That's just the way it's going to be. And once we all kind of accept that, then we will know when you go into politics, you're going to be a twisted little son of a bitch. You're going to be you're going to do your own thing.
It seems like it happens to all of them.
Right. And when you're at work, that's one side of the spectrum. You know, the other side of the spectrum is the common man, you know, the common farmer. We can't put people on idols. Is that right? We can't idolize. We can't put people on pedestals. Thank you.
Put them on pedestals.
We can't put farmers and
idolize.
And idolize. Thank
you
very much.
Doing a great job.
One or two.
You're doing a great job.
Too many. Because everyone's going to do what's best for them. You know, a cattle farmer. How am I going to make the most amount of money? Well, I have to treat my cattle correctly. I have to treat them right. I have to make sure they're healthy. They're not doing it because they love the animals. You don't kill things that you love.
Right.
You're raising something to create a profit. All right. You farm land not because you love the soil. You do it because you love the profit that raising corn and farming corn makes.
Well, I think that a lot of people feel that that's what's happened. That's the disconnect.
I'm a steward of the land. No, you're not. You're a steward of your checkbook,
right.
And we all just need to accept that.
Yeah, and I think that's what that one farmer that I talked about, you know, said. We have to have an idea of what we're doing is affecting everybody else. It's the whole idea of citizenship and community that's been laxed. You know, we've
lost it.
It's much easier for me to be pissed off and upset and say, those fucking takers who are just sucking off the tit of the government on food stamps are just a bunch of lazy fucking losers. That is.
Are you talking about the 1%?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm talking about the poor people.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the 1%.
No.
You know where the rules, all the rules.
I was thinking of the poor who are on food stamps. You know, it's much so. And this is what I've found in some people that I've bumped into who are Republicans. Okay, it's much easier. It doesn't take a lot of effort for me to say
to villainize.
They're in the wrong. They're villain. They're the people who are screwing us right there. They're the problem, and I can just dismiss it. I don't have to talk about children and it being mostly women and children who are in the poor and the elderly and veterans. I don't have to think about. I can just kind of dump it all there. But you know what? I don't have to think about that anymore. It's fucking done. I can blame these people, villainize them. I can be finished with it. You know what I mean? It's a lazy way of thinking. But at the same time, maybe I'm thinking about the 1% the same way.
When people talk that way, you almost don't look at them as human anymore. Those people who talk that way about the poor, they stop looking at the poor as if they're people.
Yeah.
They start looking at the poor as if they're only a problem, an infection, a cancer that is hurting their society. I look at the 1%. If you're not working your ass off with all your money, hooray for you. Good for you that you have millions, possibly billions of fucking dollars because you came up with a great idea because your great-great-grandfather fucking screwed over the Native Americans, I don't know what, and you're doing steel or you're doing oil. Hooray for you that you have millions or billions of dollars. But listen, there are people who have children who are starving. If you're not creating companies, if you're not creating factories, if you're not creating an industry where people can have decent jobs with decent wages, you are the problem. You're creating poverty.
Well, for sure. And when they talk about like the minimum wage issue, I saw something the other day where, you know, the CEO of Starbucks, which I love Starbucks, but he was saying that he doesn't want to raise the minimum wage to $15, that it would ruin everything, right? He makes $9,500 an hour. That's what he makes.
Does.
That's what he makes an hour. Is $9,500 an hour.
Well,
so the whole idea, I mean, that's what it goes back to. I mean, and we need to get Rocky back on here because he's a good.
When you said it would ruin everything, what specifically did he
that
think
his business
was going to ruin?
Oh, I don't know specifics. He was saying that, you know, it would be hard for Starbucks to keep functioning if they're paying their employees that much money, things like that, when he's making that much money an hour. And I think that's the disconnect. That, I mean, because you're asking, it's like you just said, you're asking somebody else to give up something. I've worked my ass off my whole life. I've gone to college. I got a master's degree in whatever. I've done all these things. I've worked myself through the system. Now I'm the CEO of Starbucks.
Yeah, listen, not everybody does that. Some people come up with, sometimes it's the good old boy system.
Okay, but
and you come up with a product.
Even if you worked yourself all the way up to the top,
you've put the time in and you've taken the chances.
If you're a part of a society, if you're a member of the community, if you're a citizen of this state or country or world, would you not be thinking in your head, is it okay for me to make close to $10,000 an hour when I don't pay my employees more than $8,000? You know, that seems like a disconnect, especially when you're making your money off of if you didn't have your employees, you wouldn't have the money you have per year. I mean, I think that's where it seems like things get a little twisted because you aren't going to have the money that you make if you don't have the workers doing what they're doing to help you make that money.
A really interesting YouTube video, and I'll try to find it. They were talking about the trickle-down economics.
Oh, yeah. Reagan. Voodoo economics. That's what it's called. It's
whatever
called
you like. It's however you want to say
voodoo economics.
But they were saying when the upper 1%, when you start trickling down and you have these people up here getting all the money, all these people they invest or they change the economy so that by the time these people get the money, it's actually worth less than if you wouldn't have given them anything at all. Because these people invest or they change it or the inflation goes up. So by the time it actually touches the common person, our money isn't worth as much as it was before.
Huh.
So
And I've also heard conversations like, when they Diamond, he's the CEO of Goldman Sachs. When he got his bonus or whatever, somebody talked about how that money will trickle back down to the economy. Well, they talked about what he bought. He bought a Lamborghini, 2 Lamborghinis, which are close to $500,000 a piece. He bought a villa in Spain. He bought all these really enormous things that have absolutely no trickle-down effect at all. I mean, they're things that we wouldn't even think about buying.
Okay.
If I won $500 million in the lottery tomorrow, the last thing I would fucking buy is a Lamborghini. It's so crazy to even think about that.
You've never driven one, so you don't know.
You know what I probably would do? I'd probably test drive one and say, you know what? I got a big checkbook. I want to take this for a test drive. I'd drive it, and I'd be like, well, that was really fun.
You'd be that asshole. You'd be that asshole on YouTube that's like at a stoplight going, and then you just fucking whip out because it's got so much power, and then you just fucking smash it.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that we need to get back to a very more human way of approaching just about everything. And I don't think it has to be, I think we have to stop these things of the 1% and, the givers and the takers and trickle down things. How about we try to make things more even and stop saying things like redistribution of wealth, socialism, all these things. How about I fucking bust my ass and I make McDonald's hundreds of billions of dollars a year. So it's okay if I make a little bit more money an hour.
Now listen, some things, legal things, there are laws that are so corrupt. There are certain things that are legal that are just so fucking evil and nasty and stupid and horrible. But here's one, and we've talked about it before. Stockholders can sue the CEO if the CEO does not do everything in his or her power, to make a profit, an increasing profit for his or her stockholders. Now, do you think that stockholders are going to say, no, I'm down. I'm down with losing money. I'm down with my shares going down in price, so from $5 a share to $1 a share.
Right.
I'm down with that. No. No one's down with that.
So do you buy gold and silver like Rocky does? I mean,
I'm just saying we can't. When there's laws like that, when a CEO, if there's somebody, let's say you got to a point where you're a CEO, you worked your ass off, you're a CEO of McDonald's,
TPSP Productions,
whatever
CEO,
yeah, TPSP. Let's just say for a second that you got to a point to where you thought, you know what, I'm not gonna take $9,000 an hour as a wage. I'm going to pay this back. I'm going to do something so that it's more legitimate, so that my workers are getting paid a sufficient amount for today's living.
Right.
Stockholders going to sue your ass. You can't do it.
Right.
They've created a system to where you can't, even if you want to be moral and ethical.
But at the same, you've
never heard
You've never heard a CEO go, "I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the shot. I'm going to show you what it looks like to be a fucking human being." You've never heard a CEO even talk about that. When we see things,
I can't. If one has been talked about like that, if one has been described like that, I can't remember it.
Think about how liberating it is to see the newsroom, the very first scene of the newsroom where he says, America's not the greatest. That was an entertaining thing.
Boom. That was like a fucking earthquake.
But
I love watching that scene.
People loved that because it was real and it was reality. Because it pulled the curtain back, which is stupid because it's a fucking television show. But we all like it because we all know that is the truth.
And that's Alan Sorkin.
Yes,
right?
It is. And he is a Republican on that show. And one of the reasons why I like it and why I like talking to Rocky about some of this stuff is there's so much stuff that I can latch onto and go, yeah, absolutely, because it's very much common sense.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But he's a rhino. He's a rhino.
Yeah. You know what? I want to talk about a movie I saw. We're going to totally switch it off. Are we okay switching off topics?
Is there anything else I want to talk about?
We went down that really dark fucking hole really bad.
And you know what? You have to every now and then.
No.
Every now and then. There's
No,
a lot of bullshit in the world.
I'm not saying it's bad.
And you got to just vent
I'm not
sometimes.
saying it's bad. I'm saying, can I switch gears?
Let me see. I want to see if is there anything else that I wanted to talk about. Oh, real quick. We talked about, remember how, did we say DARPA is going to create underwater drones to where you can have drones under on the ocean floor that can be released. They'll float up to the ceiling, they'll float up to the surface, and then they'll take off so they can bomb whoever. Is that fucking scary as shit or what? Now,
I live in Iowa. I'm good.
You know what? You and I, we laugh about this, but the fucking people in Afghanistan and around the world who have been
drone attacked. That's a scary fucking thing. I just watched Terminator 1, 2, and 3, and that is a scary fucking thing, dude. I mean, it's funny. Well, hey, you know what?
It's funny in a way, but it's really fucking scary. So if you think I'm bullshit, I'm gonna put a link. It's RT. It talks about drones underwater.
Yeah, do it.
Check it out. All right, let's switch gears. What do you want to
There's
talk
a TV
about?
show called Person of Interest. Has to do with this internet that kind of can see and run and everything. And then there's also a TV show called Revolution where all the electricity is gone, right?
If it wasn't for the shitty acting, I would really like Revolution.
My favorite guy in Revolution is the uncle. What's his name? I forget his name. He's one of the main good guy characters.
Are you shitting me? That's just your favorite character?
He is, because I think the young actress, I think, is really not that great. Yeah. And I think the guy who plays like his buddy, who was the bad guy throughout the whole majority of the show, and now they're friends again, and they're all...
The black guy?
No. I can't remember their names. Fuck it. But I like that show a lot. But the interesting thing is both the shows are talking about either a situation where something's watching everything. The internet is like this open source of this thing can run. I mean, watching, I think it was like the gal in the show walked over to the trash can, picked out a receipt from the trash can, handed it to a guy. He walked into somewhere. They recognized him as they changed his information on the internet that matched the name on the receipt. So he had like a legitimate pinpoint of some kind of information, like ID wise. I mean, it's just fucking crazy.
Are you talking about Revolution?
No, I'm talking about Person of Interest.
Okay,
it was happening so fast, but it's because things happen so fast on the internet. And if you have a computer that's willing to change everything, I just think it's interesting that we have two very popular shows. One is about government taking over everything and watching everybody's moves, which is kind of what's happening now. And you have another one where everything is gone electricity wise, and we're back to kind of like the frontier days.
Well, that actually is a great segue because I found something on YouTube recently, which has been around for a little while. It's nothing new, but it was new to me, and it's called WranglerStar. Okay. And this guy does timber framing, and he just he lives kind of out in the country, somewhat, but he does his own thing. He fells trees.
Sure.
Makes his own timber. You'll see videos where he's got a Glock strapped to his chest all the time, and it was very refreshing. I don't necessarily. Listen. I'm not Christian. I'm not religious. How's that? But I don't down on people necessarily if they are religious. But he is Christian. He's very Christian, and it was refreshing to hear him say on one video, and each one of these videos, they're only like 8 to 10 minutes long. But on one video, he goes, for all of you people who are commenting on the YouTube site that you're tired of hearing me talk about my faith and how it gets me through my day, understand this. You don't own this. You do not own this channel. And I will say what I want. Nice. And if that's how I feel, that's how I feel. And if you don't like it, don't listen. Don't watch. Wow. Was that refreshing? Wow, was that refreshing? And again, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he says about religion. I don't believe that because something good happens to me that the big man up in the clouds actually paid the fuck attention to me.
Right.
I do think that there's something
Bigger than us, sure.
Bigger than us, completely unknown. I can't fucking wrap my brain around it. I totally get that. And I am spiritual in that regard, but I don't think that there's an old man with a white beard sitting in the clouds.
Making all the choices.
You know, with his fairy wand making... Oh, the Broncos won. Woohoo! Thank you.
That is refreshing, though.
It was very refreshing. And then another video was, "This is why I carry." And so I watched that. And he goes, I've had a lot of people comment about how stupid I am that I carry this Glock with me all the time. Well, listen, I live out in the wilderness, and there's cougars out here, and there's all this dangerous stuff.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I had a really bad itch. That was terrible, but I felt it coming. Cougars.
So just so that you know why I carry this is why I carry it. And he has film footage. He's like this. Okay, so I'm a little hyped up right now. But what happened was I heard this tussle. I heard the dogs were fighting, and I ran over to see what was going on, and boom, there was a fucking cougar in a brawl with his two dogs.
Wow.
And he took out his Glock, took aim, nailed it right in the ass, spun it around, and it took off. I mean, but it saved him, that weapon. Where all these people were making fun of him because he has this thing strapped to his chest all the time. He's cutting through fucking huge trees, and he's got a Glock right in his chest. But that was, again, refreshing for somebody to say, you know what? I don't have to be PC. I like this dude. I don't have to be PC. And maybe if you want to be more manly, maybe if some people are having a hard time being a man nowadays, you might want to disconnect. Make something with your hands, would you?
Right.
Be creative. Draw something. Create something. I thought was really, really neat. So WranglerStar. I'll have a link to it in the description, but very refreshing. It was just really neat.
Isn't it interesting how we are enjoying these things or keep talking about ways of getting back to a simpler way?
Back to the basics?
Yeah, it's like, we think about, building a timber frame house or farming or, I wonder if it goes in cycles. Because I remember my parents talking about things like that. I remember the 60s being kind of like that, trying to get out of this disconnect of this bigger government, everything run by electronics and computers and things like that. I remember my parents talking about not watching TV. You shouldn't watch TV all the time. And like I said, I'm terrible about it because I love television, but I can understand the need to disconnect from it.
I think there's some basic truths, and we get distracted from those truths.
For sure. I did watch a movie.
Okay.
It's called 20 Feet from Stardom. Sorry.
I don't know. Dude, you watched the fucking movie. What is it?
It's called 20 Feet from Stardom, and it's about backup singers.
I am enthralled.
Well, I heard about it, and so I think it was.
Where'd you watch it on? Netflix?
Netflix, I think, yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was up for an Oscar for a documentary. And it's about all the
Okay. It's a documentary.
Yeah, it's about all the backup singers that are in every song that you like. There's a set of men and women who are singing all the background vocals. And it's how a lot of them were never able to break into the limelight.
To break through, yeah.
Sheryl Crow was a backup singer for Michael Jackson, I think.
Really?
So Sheryl Crow is a backup singer. They named all these people who are backup singers back in the day. But there was this, in particular, this one woman on there, and I wish I could remember her name, but they showed her singing, and she had a microphone, and she was like just riffing like that, like just with her voice, right?
Like beatboxing?
No, but like riffing, like just singing, but
just
singing,
making noises,
but like beautiful. Like I was just enthralled.
I'm not trying to downplay it. But she wasn't singing words. She was making sounds.
Yes,
with her.
Absolutely.
That's why I said beatboxing.
Yeah.
You're just making sounds.
Yeah, she wasn't like. No, she wasn't doing that. She was singing, but she's
so
the main.
white boy.
She's the main backup singer for the Rolling Stones and for Sting, and so they showed her sitting with Sting, and they're in a big, place like working on songs, and he's like, "Hey, at this one part, go ahead and do whatever you want to do. I want to hear your voice come through on this stuff." And there's some very popular songs that Sting's done where they have a female voice that's opposite of him, not background singer, but like a literal voice. It's her. She does all the Rolling Stones backup singing. And I was enthralled with her. I mean, I was just watching her, and she is just absolutely amazing. But her first solo record, she got a Grammy for, and then just tanked. And now she just does backup singing again. And it was just really interesting to see how some people make it and some people don't. And it's not talent. It's not the drive. It's just the luck's not there. Or it was just interesting to see you.
All the stars did not align.
Absolutely. That's what it was. But it was incredible to see these people who devote their lives to making sure everybody sounds good.
You know, Chad Canfield made this comment. He goes, about the talent that is in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Right.
Just in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And so when people do make it, you can't say that it's not because of luck. You know, there's so many people that are talented. There's so many people that could be actors. There's so many people that could sing. There's so many musicians. Because of our population that is huge, which is my big thing, there's so many wonderfully talented people.
Right.
But for that one person to be plucked out of that huge mass, there's a lot of luck that goes with that.
It seems that, like, I was listening to Tracy Morgan was on the Howard Stern show this week, and he was just fucking crazy, what he was talking about.
Howard Stern?
No, Tracy Morgan.
Oh, Tracy Morgan. Okay.
And he was saying, so when you got on SNL, what'd you think? And he's like, it was another job, man. It was just another job. That's what I wanted to do, and this is what I do, Howard. He's like, so when you go and you act and you're on movie sets, what do? Do you read your lines and stuff like that? He's like, no, I don't. I memorize stuff if I can, but I get there and I just show up and I do my thing because this is just me. This is what I do. And he seemed like a very real person who made it. But I think he would almost be just as happy being back in the ghetto in Brooklyn, which is what he talked about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is just me. He still goes back there and hangs out with his friends and things like that. But it was just interesting to hear somebody very real, and it seemed to me that's what made him an attractive person to begin with for his comedy. That he's just very straightforward. That somebody talked about how there's a bunch of comedians lined up, kind of waiting to do the Comedy Store or something in L.A., and Tracy Morgan was backstage, and some guy was going over his notes in front of him. Yeah. Tracy Morgan walked up, ripped him out of his hand, shredded him up into pieces, and said, just go up there and just do whatever comes to your head.
If that was me, I would have fucking laid him out if I could have. Who knows? Maybe Tracy Morgan's a bad motherfucker. Maybe
But my issue with that is that's how if Tracy Morgan works like that, he gets up there and just does whatever. It may take somebody else a little effort, and practice. I mean, even like Jerry Seinfeld,
dude. Can you imagine?
Could you imagine?
I would have been like, what? I liked you.
Try to tape a little piece back together. Anybody have some Scotch tape?
I can't imagine. We got to wrap this up, but I can't imagine the people that go out on stand up and they put themselves out there. I've seen a lot of terrible comedians
recently.
Well, I just have, but it's not. It just didn't strike me personally funny, but that person had to have the balls to get up on stage and do his or her stick. That was them. That's really super ballsy to me. This right here, what we do, it's about as ballsy as I get.
Me too.
And I'm not in front of a ton of people, and I don't have to worry about people booing me. I don't have to worry about hecklers. Right. I mean, there's people that could be on YouTube and make comments that are shitty, but for the most part, I almost feel like Superman. Like I can't get hurt.
Yeah.
Like, we can just be us, and the bullets just bounce off.
Right.
If I don't want to look at it, I don't have to worry about it.
Well, but I mean, it's the idea. But what you're usually worried about, though, is somehow being held accountable to your thoughts and your ideas not fitting in with somebody else's. That's what you're bulletproof from. Our names give us. My name gives me the ambiguity to be able to say whatever I want because I'm worried about what could possibly happen, and so it gives you. I mean, that's why we feel like we're indestructible because we're not held accountable. We don't have to be. Somebody is not judging us by what we're saying and what we're doing. I mean, that's
Right.
really the essence of it.
Sure.
And that's why we start. It's the whole point we started this thing for. We don't want to keep fucking around and saying, "Oh, I don't want to say this," or "I want to say that." I mean, we don't want to have to always tiptoe around everything all the time.
Right.
I mean, even my wife was listening to Denise Stapley's, podcast.
Oh, so wait a second. So your wife has listened to a podcast?
She has.
My
and
wife still hasn't.
And she was like, Jesus Christ, TMI, huh? To me about whether it was when I masturbated when I was 11 or something like that. And I said, listen, this is a discussion.
Hey,
and I'm going to fucking talk about anything I want to talk about that I felt comfortable. She's a sex therapist.
Sure.
And yes, me blurting some comment about masturbating at 11 may have been inappropriate. But
Listen, there's
I
going to be
felt
some
comfortable with her.
11-year-olds. Yeah, but there's going to be some 11-year-olds. There's going to be some kid who...
Or a father.
But most likely there's going to be a kid who their dad didn't have that talk with them, and that kid is freaking out thinking that there's something wrong with them.
Right.
Because they feel a certain way, and because jerking off feels so good, and but isn't it bad? And I mean, there's going to be somebody. There's going to be. I'm not the shit, and neither are you. But we feel a certain way, and if somebody listens to this or watches it, and they think, "Oh, I'm not the only person that thinks that way.
Right.
I'm not the only person that feels that way," then I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
And plus, I just like hanging out with my buddy. And so, today, we got to go to CrossFit. What you're going to see after this is going to be some interviews that we do at CrossFit 2.2.
Yeah, for their grand opening?
For their grand opening. And the grand opening kind of took a while. So, it starts with the grand opening, and then it morphs into Easter. But that's okay, because all the people that Todd interviewed... today, it turned out great. So I really hope you stick around for that. Wonderful, wonderful business. CrossFit 2.2, CrossFit Kilo, the whole CrossFit
community in
general.
Eastern Iowa is pretty incredible.
So if you were ever wondering about, should I work out at CrossFit? Maybe I'm not the right type of... Is it too hard? Am I not the right type of person?
Nuts. Yeah.
Listen to these interviews that are coming up, and you'll see very visually there's a lot of different types of people. There's a lot of different types of body style. There's a lot of different type of motivation. There's a lot of different types of reasons why people choose CrossFit. And you know what? It seems to be working.
Yeah.
It seems to be working.
From what I took from the interviews was community. Like the number one thing was community.
Sure. Family atmosphere.
Family atmosphere.
Yep.
The second was coming in and getting a workout in. It's very simply having the best training around to make sure I'm safe, I'm lifting correctly, and things are going the right way.
The number two thing was really the trainers are so great at their job. Yeah. And you have a lot of different athleticism on a scale, people with injuries and whatever. But the trainers, the coaches at CrossFit 2.2,
Nick, Josh, Tom, Alicia,
they're at such a level that they are aware of, are you not doing an exercise properly? Okay. And now why are you not doing it properly? Is it because you're not focusing, or is it because you have an injury? And if you have an injury, then they start to tailor, they start to try to, what I liked, what Nick said, or it might have even been Josh, how we try to find the root cause of that injury. It might not be what you thought it was. Right. Maybe you need to strengthen a completely different area of your body so that this doesn't cause you any pain anymore, which now creates that range of motion that you desperately needed so that you can do a front squat or a overhead squat or a clean and jerk, whatever you were struggling with. So that's the type of passion. That's the type of
and I went in and talking about Brad helping me out today with his truck. But again, I got a little misty-eyed because I was thinking of everybody I talked to today and people who I hang out with a year and a half and I didn't know. Mm-hmm. And now they're legitimately important people in my life. Right. If somebody needed something, I would do them for them because I know of them through the gym. And to think that, I mean, I hope I never stop learning or wanting to learn or trying new things. But the idea that I would have missed out on the opportunity to know all these people because I didn't take a chance with CrossFit, or I thought it was too scary. You know, I keep thinking about, man, what would I be missing out on? It's hard for me to imagine not being part of that gym.
You know,
so
we've just
pretty awesome.
We've disconnected ourselves so much. We have so much going on because we try to do so many different tasks. We don't have that sense of community. So to be able to delve into an aspect, whether it's a gym that gives us that sense of community, we didn't have it before because our lives are so busy. So that's a really cool thing that you really just need to, everybody needs to have something that gives them that sense of community.
Yeah. And for
CrossFit
me,
does it.
It does it for me too.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Kudos to CrossFit2.2. Kudos to Nick. And here's the interviews that we conducted today. And I hope you guys enjoy them. And
Check it
that's
out, man.
Fuck it. All right, so I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And we'll see you later.
Adios.
Have a good night.
Sir, you are whom? Who are you?
I am. I'm Nick Rosine. I'm the head coach here. I'm also the manager. CrossFit2.2.
You're part of the ownership too, as well.
Yep, working on that.
You are not new to the Primal Scream Podcast. You've been on our podcast twice.
Yeah, been here. This is my second time, third time now.
Yeah, well, we're looking to promote your gym.
Awesome.
What do you think distinguishes you from everybody else when it comes to what you guys have to offer here at 2.2?
I would just have to say coaching in the community. We take the coaching of our members very, very seriously. You know, it's one of those things that I want people to be better than me. So the coaches here put a lot of effort into coaching the individuals. Their success is a direct reflection of our gym. You know, whether somebody's looking to be an exceptional athlete or they're just looking to just start somewhere, all of that is a direct reflection of the gym here. Okay. Our coaching, everything.
Somebody who's new to you and to CrossFit, how did you get started? How did you get involved with CrossFit, period?
How did I?
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay. I served overseas. I served in Iraq. I got home from Iraq. This was 2000, I think 7.
Okay.
I think 2007, 2008, kind of somewhere in there.
Okay.
I was getting ready to go to Ranger School, and you know, I had worked out just like everybody else. You know, in the gym. You know, Monday was bench day. Friday you do some deadlifts, and everything else kind of in between is to try and look good naked, right?
Right.
You know, so I knew I had to train kind of different because this was, you know, something that is a different undertaking.
Ranger
you know?
School's pretty intense.
Yeah, you know, you've got to get your body ready to handle that type of workload, and I knew that just the regular lifting, like more normal people do, is not going to cut it. So I found out. Armin McCormick, got a hold of him. There's, you know, through the grapevine that he was doing some personal training at the time. I believe he was finishing up his master's up at UNI. And knew that, found out that he was also a combat vet, and he understood what it would take to accomplish that type of task. As far as completing Ranger School, he understood what was needed to be trained. So I started training up there. He at the time was opening CrossFit Cedar Valley.
Okay.
In Waterloo, and was training CrossFit, training with him, and he, you know, approached me and said, "Hey, would you like to be a CrossFit coach?"
Okay.
After some time, I said, "Yeah," and that's how it kind of all started, just mentorship and tutelage under him.
Okay. And were you ever involved in the games or anything like that yet for CrossFit?
No, not yet.
Okay. Is that one of your goals?
I think, yeah, I would like to be able to get myself, you know, a team first to a regional level.
Okay, fantastic. Obviously CrossFit 2.2 is unique because of the community.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are fantastic coaches. What else do you think is unique about CrossFit just in general when it comes to how it can help you in your daily life?
Man, just look at what we do in here. You know, it's just functionality. Taking somebody that is not mobile, getting them mobile. It's just the function of life. It's you know, it's just in a different medium. We tend to use, barbells, kettlebells, a pull-up bar, but when you break the movement down, it mimics just movement in life, Am I able to stand up, sit down properly without being in compromised positions? It's just making the body run and move as it's designed to do.
Okay. I know I've seen we've had a couple people in our gym that have had injuries that were injuries before they came to CrossFit.
Yes.
But they're still in the gym. They're still working out.
Absolutely.
I remember hurting my back in the day. I'm like, oh, can't go in for a couple of weeks.
No, man, get in here. We'll work around it. We'll look at, if possible, what the issue was. We'll try and find what the root cause was. And if it's a weak link somewhere, we're going to try and fix it.
Fantastic. Any upcoming events for CrossFit 2.2?
Yep, you bet. Obviously, today we just had our Easter egg hunt for the kids, which is good. We had a ton of kids out here. Our next big one's going to be May 17th, May 18th. We're going to have Cedar Rapids' first Olympic lifting meet and powerlifting meet.
Fantastic. Here at the gym?
Yes, here.
And who are you teaming up with for that?
The Anvil.
Anvil.
Ken down there. Yep, he's going to help me out on the powerlifting side. That's a new world for me. So he's going to be bringing in some equipment, some guidance, bringing in some powerlifters, and he's going to help me out quite a bit.
Okay. Fantastic. Sir, who are you?
I'm Josh, one of the coaches here at CrossFit 2.2.
Fantastic. Give us an overall idea of how you got into CrossFit, period, how you started and where it's progressed now.
Okay. I was at UNI for exercise science, and I was doing personal training. And long story short, I was working in a competitor's gym, and I needed an internship that UNI wouldn't honor that internship at the competitor's gym that CrossFit Kilo has up in Cedar Falls. So I figured out what CrossFit Kilo was and went there for my internship, fell in love with it. It made sense. The science is there. So I really stuck with it and tried really hard, slaved to get into it. And it was incredibly rewarding. I got to apply all the science that I learned in school, which is kind of a rarity in this field. So just stuck with it, and here I am.
Fantastic. How long were you at CrossFit Kilo before you came down to CrossFit 2.2?
6 or 8 months, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So how long after you graduated were you training full time? Did you have another job outside of here? Or?
I graduated actually in December, so I've only been out of school for a couple of months.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was going back and forth to UNI when I moved down here.
Oh, wow.
For about 3 months. But yeah, just got out of it and been training. I trained for about 5 years, even slightly before college. I was personal training. So. And
did you do athletics in high school, college, anything like that, or was it all just more like working out, staying in shape kind of thing?
No athletics. Just fell into a gym junior year of high school and stuck around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what got you started, just personal training. You like the aspect of training somebody, helping them get healthy, things like that.
Exactly.
So if you had, when it comes to the mentality of CrossFit, a lot of people are nervous to come into a gym, nervous to come to a box because they think it's some fanatical thing or some elite, only for elite athletes. What is something that you would say to somebody to promote CrossFit just in general?
Yep. Basically, the way that I like to think about this place is it's an environment for growth. We certainly do love it when we have an athlete in here that is at the peak of their level and they're always trying to get better. We nurture that, but everybody's just trying to get into shape, and we just want to have an environment where people can grow whatever level they are, and we nurture that growth. So intimidation is going to be there because of the movements that we're doing, the intensity that we're going, but to understand that we do modify everything to get everybody involved at some level. And that level is relative to that elite athlete that's at their peak of performance, or somebody just coming off the couch wants to make a life change. The intensity is all relative. So we just work them within that relative intensity.
Okay. What is CrossFit Kilo and CrossFit 2.2? I know CrossFit Kilo, they're part owners of CrossFit 2.2. What do you think is unique about 2.2 that they've gained from Kilo, obviously, but what is it unique that you guys do here that you think separates you from a lot of other boxes in the area?
Oh, that's a good one. We really try to focus on the environment while still adhering to really high standards of coaching. So Kilo really laid down the format for us. We try to make it our own, but it's really, we've learned lessons from them. They work, so we just implement them here and make it work for us, knowing that we have competing gyms in the area. So there's not a whole lot different, just the environment, we just focus on that. The environment's going to be different. I mean, they have some really top level athletes, but just the same as we have here, we have top level athletes, and then people are just coming out off the couch.
Gotcha. I know we have talked about fitness in general. When I think I talked to somebody earlier that I saw some ladies in today that were just, obviously their first pull-ups, they're leaping off the ground, just barely getting the pull-up. And I didn't feel like, oh, well, that's too bad, or, boy, that sucks. It's more of like, holy cow, they're in here trying their absolute best at what level they're at. Then you have somebody right next to them who's doing butterfly pull-ups, but everybody's working together. I think that's obviously a unique part of 2.2.
Yes, definitely.
And do you feel that, I mean, are you getting more athletes coming in looking to get stronger, better, faster, that kind of thing? Yeah,
I mean, it's always going to be the top 1 or 2%, but we just want more blood in here. We want people in here, all walks of life. If we get a great athlete, that's awesome. We want that because it makes coaching that much more challenging and rewarding. But we just want people in here. That's all we really care about. And whoever it is, we're going to welcome them.
Awesome. If I walk in the door to CrossFit 2.2, what's the first thing I might have to start doing to get started?
We require 3 hours of essentially personal training where we run you through the movements that you will expect out of CrossFit. We teach you them, basically focusing on snatch and clean and jerk, the 2 Olympic movements that are really difficult to learn. We focus on those and then the gymnastic movements. Just make sure that your ranges of motions are good. You know which progression to work on to start at a level that will continue your growth to a more difficult movement. And we teach you which progression will benefit you the most. So those, 3 hours of personal training. It is required because we don't want you to come in and feel like you're getting fed to the wolves, essentially. So
just gives people an idea what's going to be happening. And then when they actually get started, you have the beginners classes that are 6:30 most weeks or most days during the week. And then so when you show me foundations, does that mean that when I walk into the next workout, I have them all down? That would be nervous for me. So what kind of care do you give to the person when they come in after those foundations and they're walking in for their first WOD?
Firstly, just reinforcing what we had learned in foundations. So all the movements, we'll show you basic motor movements, and then as we start to get more practice, then we can teach you more fine motor movement, technique training, and things like that. So you'll understand the movements out of foundations, but to actually do them completely correctly, one is probably going to be very incredibly difficult. But we'll get you to the best that we can with those beginner WODs that are at 6:30 at night. We break down the form a little bit more, take our time, make sure that you understand everything, and you're good to go.
How often do you have classes? What's your schedule here during the week?
5, 6, and 7 a.m. We got a noon class, and then a 4:30, 5:30, and 6:30 at night. And then as demand increases, we're just going to keep adding classes that will overlap those major class times. Like morning classes, we'll have overlapping classes. We have 2 rooms. We're going to use them. Night classes, overlap them. Get busy in here. We'll keep growing.
Fantastic. I've seen we've interviewed some people today that have had injuries that were before CrossFit that they had to kind of get taken care of now as they are getting more athletic and more capable of doing a lot of the movements. Why do you think CrossFit's one of those programs that seems to almost nurture an athlete who does have an injury? There's always something that they can do.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty unique.
Yeah. There is always a modification for something. We can always take a movement, a big range of motion, and shrink the range of motion down. So somebody that has a knee injury, they're not bending their knee all the way, but they're still doing part of the movement, still developing strength in that movement. And we just adjust the intensity or say the weight to make it more approachable for them so they're not doing any more stress than necessary on that knee, for example.
Fantastic. So you can talk about the Ollie competition?
Yeah. We got an Olympic and powerlifting competition coming up May 17th. It's going to be a big couple of days for us. The powerlifting will be on the Sunday, I believe it's the 18th. And then the Ollie lifting will be on that Saturday prior. Okay. So it'll be kind of interesting. If you've never done a powerlifting or Olympic lifting meet, it'll be kind of an introductory or a good introduction to what that is like. We're not going to really be too intense with it. It'll be fairly laid back, but still pretty official.
Awesome. All right, man. Hey, what's your name? What do you do? What brought you to CrossFit?
My name is Brandon DeWitt. I'm a salesman for a company here in town called Iowa Stone Supply.
Okay.
Just wanted to get in shape. The boss, my boss, the owner of the company, he's a member here, and I saw results. Started talking to him about it, decided it was something I wanted to give it a try. Been doing it probably right around 2.5 months, I think.
Okay.
So.
And you did the Open this year. That's one of the first kind of set of things you did was the Open, correct?
Yes. Yeah. My second week. Finished up foundations, had 1 week of class, and they talked me into 14.1.
That's
so,
fantastic.
Signed up for the Open, accomplished my goal. I was able to post a score in all 5 weeks.
Awesome.
So I could not have done it without the support of the gym. I mean, there was some difficult stuff there, and it was pretty exciting.
That's fantastic. So your boss brought you into CrossFit, obviously, to kind of help you out. How do you feel it's like affected your job? I mean, you're working with Stone, it sounds like you need to be a bit stronger than the average Joe. So
I just feel better.
Okay.
You know, I've lost about 15 pounds in just a little over, that time.
Fantastic.
When I first came, it took me 15 minutes to run my first mile. A couple weeks ago, we had a workout that had a mile run in it. I was down to 10 minutes and 10 seconds.
That's awesome.
And every week you come in and you can do something that you couldn't do last week.
Okay.
So
what do you think is a unique thing about CrossFit 2.2 in particular for you?
Well, CrossFit 2.2 is the only one I've been involved in, but I've never been involved in anything workout-wise or, fitness like that is so, team-oriented. Like,
Okay.
if you're the last one finishing up your workout and the rest of the class is done, the rest of the class is literally standing around you, cheering you on. And how do you quit when you have 30 people standing there saying, "Come on, you can do it, you can do it"? And
Great point.
And it gives you that drive that I'm gonna finish this, because it's not only like you're finishing it for you, it's like you're finishing it for the whole gym.
Okay. What do you think is a unique thing about 2.2 in particular besides the workouts? What are some of the things you think are the benefits of coming here?
Just the family atmosphere of it, like the Easter egg hunts they're going to have for the kids, the open house that we had last week, where my 2 kids are out there doing warm-ups with the class, just that aspect of it it's pretty neat to see, maybe Nick coaching a class for the 8:15, and then he's turning right around and he's teaching my daughter how to try to do muscle-ups on the rings.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Fantastic.
That's just pretty interesting.
And so if you had to recommend CrossFit for somebody who's starting out brand new, what would you say to them? Obviously, the community part of it is a big one, but for you, what do you
I'd say come to CrossFit because you're going to get results. Every workout they do, the coaches are going to help you figure out how you can do it. With modifications, they're going to push you, and you're going to get better on a week-to-week basis. You're going to get better than you were last week.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like you're enjoying it, and I wish you the best of luck, man.
All right, thanks.
Buddy. Perfect. Oh, give us your name. We just had a hell of a workout.
Yep.
You are who?
Brad Peterson. I'm a local small animal veterinarian.
Fantastic.
I've been a member of CrossFit 2.2 for just over 2 years now.
Awesome.
I decided to join CrossFit 2.2 just because I was tired of working out on my own.
Okay.
And I kind of like the group atmosphere with a competitive atmosphere as well. We're always racing against the clock and racing against others.
Okay.
And I like that. That drives me to work out a little bit harder.
Is that what you'd say to promote CrossFit the most? Is that whole entire competitive kind of thing,
Yeah.
or family kind of atmosphere? What's your favorite part about CrossFit, period?
Period is the coaches are real good here. And the variety of workouts that we have available. Every day I come in, it's always something different.
Okay.
So it's not a typical just routine, monotonous type workout
Sure.
every time. It's always different.
Fantastic. And how about CrossFit in particular 2.2? What does you like about 2.2?
Well, as you know, they just a month ago moved into a new, better equipped facility, larger facility. And the thing that's really stuck me around the most is just the quality of coaches they have here and the camaraderie that I have with the other members here.
Fantastic.
It's close to my home, too, so it's convenient. And it's just fun to do.
Right, it is right off 380. Even if you're not real close, it's super easy to get to. I live across town, and it's nice to get here. So,
yes.
If you had to promote CrossFit period for somebody who's starting out new, who's got that whole stigma about how crazy and fanatical and cultish it is, what would you say to them?
Well, I'd say first, you have to try it first. Come in and do a few classes. And just look at the variety, the quality of coaches that they have here, the members that they have here. Everybody's very friendly. When you come in, you don't feel like you're segregated as the newbie or the virgin CrossFitter. It's modified in a way. If you're a beginner, it can make it easier for you to then progress and get bigger as far as more weights, more reps, that sort of thing.
And do you feel it's affected you with your strength-wise overall as just a regular day-to-day athlete kind of guy?
Yeah, I think overall it's just made me more in shape, cardiovascularly, muscular-wise, as well as flexibility-wise.
Okay, do you do any sports outside of CrossFit for recreation?
I did recreational volleyball. In high school, I played basketball.
Okay.
But I wasn't like a superb athlete in those sports. I just enjoyed it. I was still competitive, even though I wasn't the top athlete. But and this just is I'm 43 years old, and there's ages from 50s, 60s-year-olds that come to 19-year-olds, and it's good for all levels of ages and fitness.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, Brad. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Welcome. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Erin Kistler.
Awesome. And what brought you to CrossFit?
A Groupon.
Nice.
Yes.
Groupon start lots of things. That's
fantastic. Exactly. Best Groupon ever.
Fantastic. If you were to promote CrossFit period for anybody starting out who's got the whole stigmatism of the cult, fanatical athlete kind of setting, what would you say about CrossFit in general?
I think CrossFit in general can be as intense or as lax as you want it to be. It's really what you put into it, and that's what's so awesome about CrossFit is it's adaptable to literally a 300-pound overweight person who is just trying to get off the couch to a college athlete to a Army specialist.
Awesome. Now you played college sports.
I did.
What do you do in college?
I played volleyball and ran track.
Okay, awesome. At a collegiate level, so how would you feel your fitness is compared to when you were an athlete?
Leaps and bounds above when I was in college. I considered myself an athlete back then, but now looking back, now I know that this is what being an athlete really, really is about.
Fantastic. And so give us an idea of why it is you like CrossFit 2.2 in particular.
When I came into CrossFit 2.2, first thing that hit me was the incredible knowledge the coaches had just over everything. They didn't throw me into classes and just, swim for yourself. It was very guided, very instructional, made sure that I was safe in all the movements. I've never lifted a weight in my life. So that was big to me, was the instruction and the guidance I got. And then just the people and the atmosphere here. Everyone's super welcoming. It's like a second family.
That's fantastic. So if you are going to say as a college athlete, you were in pretty good shape, I would assume.
Sure.
And now you feel like you're in better shape. Are you doing competitions, things like that? Did you ever see yourself doing that kind of level of thing?
Yeah, no, I was scared to death to compete. I actually did my first CrossFit competition about 3 months into my CrossFit experience, and I was in no way ready for it. And it was an awesome experience. I mean, for anyone who's scared to compete, when my first competition went, I couldn't do half of the stuff that I was asked to do in the actual competition, but it was still a great building experience. And from there, I was hooked. And that's what CrossFit drives. It drives competition within yourself, within competitions and other people.
Okay, now you had an injury.
Yes.
What happened to your knee?
I had a patella lateral release and then a scope as well on both knees.
On both knees?
Yeah.
And how is CrossFit? Those didn't happen with CrossFit. Those are old injuries.
Sure.
How did CrossFit mean? Most people would think that CrossFit you have to stop doing any kind of workout at all.
Right.
I've seen you in here with braces and things on.
Yeah.
So tell us how the recovery period has changed or would be different.
Yeah, well, when I had my first knee surgery done, I had it done right before I had started CrossFit, and my recovery on that was super slow and painful and agonizing. It took about 3 months of physical therapy to even get into an air squat again. And then when I had my left knee done, it was after about 1.5 years of CrossFit, and I went to the same physical therapist, the same doctors, same surgeons, and within 2 weeks, we were all amazed at my recovery process. Just the strength that I had built from CrossFit, it aided my recovery to about a month tops, and I was back into everything and safely.
That's awesome. And it probably kept you from coming back in too soon or doing anything
too
crazy.
Absolutely, yeah.
You slowly worked your way back
into
it.
Right, yeah. CrossFit kind of helps you recognize your limits. You know when something's not right. You know when something's too much, too heavy. just have to be safe, and that's, again, when the coaches here help a lot, too. They won't ever let you do something that, is above your ability at the time.
Gotcha. Aaron, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks.
Take it easy. All right. Thank you for being here. Give us your name.
Janine Wasson.
All right, Janine, what brought you into CrossFit from the get-go?
I joined in December because it was winter, and I'm a runner, and I hate running outside in the winter. And I wanted something that would keep me active, but also engage my mind. I didn't want to run on a treadmill in my basement. I get bored. And I knew some people who did CrossFit, and I thought, give it a try.
Okay, fantastic. And at this point, were you an athlete in high school, athlete in college? You had some things behind your background that got you like, oh, CrossFit won't be too bad. I'm used to kind of heavier level kind of athletic stuff.
I was an athlete in college and in high school, played volleyball. I'm so much more well-rounded in my athleticism now than I was then.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Now, if you were to recommend CrossFit for somebody, just in general, what do you think are some of the benefits that you just pulled just from CrossFit in general?
The benefits that I've seen are definitely strength. When I started, I couldn't even do a pull-up. Didn't matter how many bands they gave me, I couldn't do one. And I'm now down to one, 2 bands. One's a small, one's a large. And seeing that physical change, I remember going home to my husband and asking him how high our coffee table was to show him I could 20-inch box jump onto our coffee table, and that kind of got his eyebrows raised. But,
and if you had to recommend 2.2 to somebody in particular, what is it about you feel about this gym, this box, that makes it unique?
I think the things that make this one unique, the community and the instructors. I'm pushing 50, and to me, I have the kids. I'm gonna call them kids. The 20-year-olds cheering me on, just like I feel like I'm their age. They make me young, and the instructors, they are so focused on your form. They want you to have good form. They want you to be able to do the lifts properly, to do the elements correctly, to avoid injury. But they're right there. I mean, I feel like I come to a gym and I have like 30 cheerleaders because I'm usually not the first one done. But one time I went back into a corner to finish my workout. I had 50 burpees. And next thing I knew, I had a couple people who were done sit down and say, we're going to count them down with you, just to help me finish my workout.
Fantastic.
And it's that community support. It feels like it's a family. I mean, in the support aspect.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
You bet.
Have a good day.
Bye.
All right, sir. You are whom?
Brad Potter.
All right, Brad. What brought you into CrossFit?
Actually, I was inspired by my brother and sister-in-law got into it a little over a year ago now, probably a year and a half ago, in the Des Moines area, and they started telling me about it, and at that point in time, I was severely out of shape and needed something to get back in that got me back into the competitive nature of things. I was a high school athlete, college athlete, and stuff like that, and once I got out of college, I still thought that I could just keep eating and drinking and doing all the same stuff I was doing back in, and it took a toll on me. I mean, I went from being about 190 pounds in college up to being 275 pounds right before I started CrossFit here, and so I just wanted something with the competitive aspect of it, and I love the weight training side of it. I love the different movements and that sort of thing. So
older brother, younger brother?
Older brother.
Older brother. That's
yeah. So now there's still that competitive spirit between the two of us. So it's there'll be the morning text or the morning phone call. Hey, I deadlifted 450 today. I did this. I did that. So
that's awesome.
We're still competing even though they were a couple hours apart.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what do you think is a unique thing if you were to talk about CrossFit just in general? Mm-hmm. What would it be that you would promote?
I mean, I would say for me the biggest thing is the community aspect of it. Still, I think everybody you talk to that does CrossFit, I mean, you can work out anywhere. You can do numerous things for fitness-wise, but I think it's the constant encouragement, the constant camaraderie that you develop with the people one day you're competing against them in class, the next day you're on a team with them in class. So it's really a neat aspect of it, and even though we compete against each other on a day-to-day basis, you just really get to know people, and you expect to see them. You expect that, and you get to meet some awesome people and awesome individuals through it. So fantastic.
How about 2.2 in general? What is it one of your favorite things about 2.2?
I would say, you know, my favorite thing about this, it's different than a lot of the other CrossFit places. Like I've worked out and when I've been out of town at work or back home at different CrossFit facilities, I like the structure of the emphasis on skill training, the form side of it with the weightlifting and really pushing that versus, all right, let's just get in here and go crazy and do a bunch of different movements and try to lose weight.
Sure.
You know, it's very structured here from that standpoint. And, you know, back to that, you know, the coaches we have, I mean, with Nick and Josh and then Alicia, I mean, I've yet to find anybody that can emphasize the points the way they do and make you feel, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a first dayer or somebody that's been here for 3 years, they treat everybody the same. They treat them like, you know, they're just part of the family. They're part of the group. And I think that's the thing, you know, you see all these people on a day-to-day basis and you see them in and out. And I mean, it's just one big, huge family. I mean, there's no other way to describe it, really.
That's a huge point. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about your injury. Did you have knee problems when you were in college as an athlete?
Yep, I was a catcher in college at Northwest Missouri State. I had a couple knee surgeries in with some torn meniscus issues. That was actually my right leg. But I think what it did over time is it made me really overwork and overuse my left leg. And getting back into CrossFit last year, I started getting some tendonitis issues, and I didn't take proper care of myself from the standpoint of I should have taken some time off and should let it rest. And what I ended up doing was I partially tore my quadricep tendon on the top side of my kneecap there. And so now I'm nursing that back to health here. I'm 3.5 weeks in. I'm wearing this immobilizer down here, so I'm finding many ways to supplement my workouts and scale them to work.
Do you feel that's a good thing about CrossFit? I mean, we haven't seen you stop working out. I mean, you're still doing what you can do,
right?
With the
I think that's one of the cool things about it. People are like, oh, I can't do squats. You know, I'm not going in. Well, trust me, I've found out there's numerous other things you can do, you know, whether it be, you know, you have good morning straight leg deadlifts. There's all kinds of different exercises to work out the rest of your body. And, you know, to be honest with you, I don't want to miss a time in here. You know, I don't want to miss working out or showing up in the morning because that's how I start my day, you know. Like you and I have talked before, it's that morning cup of coffee that you miss. You know, you're used to, I'm going to the gym. I'm getting my spark in. I'm going to the gym. I'm getting my workout in, getting my post-WOD in. I'm seeing my people that I see every morning. Then I come home, then I switch to work mode. You know, it's just part of my routine every day now. So even if both my legs were hurt, I'd probably still be here doing something.
Gotcha.
You know, because that's the way I like to start my day every day.
You own a local business, correct?
Yep.
What business do you own?
Iowa Stone Supply.
Okay, so I imagine it's a little bit easier hauling stone and things like that when you have.
Yeah,
the shape you have.
Yeah, it's amazing the difference you see and you feel at work. You know, after finally getting back in shape and having that side of it. You know, we do a lot of. Even though I'm the owner, I do pretty much every aspect of the business. We're a small business. We're only 10 employees, so all of us have to chip in everywhere we can. I said that's basically my role as owner. I'm the filler. You know,
sure.
if we have a delivery guy gone, I'm there. If I have an estimator gone, I'm there. A salesperson. So you got to be able to fill multiple roles within the company. And then, with lifting, we got 120-pound boxes of stone out there. We got 80-pound bags of spec mints. I mean, I've totaled it up before in a day. We'll move 15,000 to 2,000 pounds worth of product by hand during the day, just lifting and moving and consolidating and delivering. So it's a huge bonus that way.
So you started at 275. What are you at now?
I'm down to 209 right now.
209.
So. Yep.
Pretty happy about that?
Yeah. It's quite a difference.
Just walking around, it's different probably.
Oh yeah, everything is, every aspect of it. And like we said before, one of the biggest things I hate running. I've always hated running. Now it's like, running's not so bad when you're not, 70 pounds overweight. It's you can get out and go run a mile and still feel like you can move on with your day and go to exercise and do something else. You can lift after, whereas before, I go out and try to run a mile, and it's all I can do to finish. And then I'm laying on the floor going, oh, man, that was a good workout. Now it's like, oh, what are we doing next? What's the next part of the workout? So, yeah, and it's, when I started, I couldn't do a pull-up. I mean, I was using 2-3 bands to get up on top of the bar. Now I'm doing, the other day we're doing sets with 55-pound weighted kettlebells in between legs doing strict pull-ups. Never, ever thought I'd be to that point, So it's cool. Psychologically, you think about it, you're like, oh, man, pull-ups. And then, for me, I'm like, sweet, pull-ups,
Right.
Think about what I used to have to pull above the bar versus now. Now it's a heck of a lot easier. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's just an all-around better feeling.
I told you this before. I'm pretty impressed with what you've done. So
well,
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, buddy.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Sir, who are you?
Jay Heater.
All right, Jay. What brought you to CrossFit from the very beginning?
Looking for a change. I was participating in a lot of endurance stuff, from triathlons to a few marathons, and had a buddy in the Quad Cities that started joining CrossFit after we ran a marathon, and he said he kind of thought that CrossFit would help balance out all my training, kind of take some load off of the training of the swim, bike, run.
So almost simply cross-fitting across different...
Right, yeah, and add strength. You know, one of the keys that you always read about is adding strength to any type of endurance program. And I never found the right balance. You know, it was I can go do something, but I never stuck with it strength training wise. So I decided to give CrossFit a try.
Okay. How about CrossFit 2.2? What is something you would recommend because of this gym in particular?
The gym, the coaches, they're great. You know, they're willing to help you out, whether it's in class or on an individual base. You know, really giving pointers that you need to make sure you're doing lifts properly, doing, you know, all the technique, because that's the key, you know, not hurting yourself, you know, and the community. You know, I've been here essentially since it opened and made a lot of new friends, you know, which is great. You go to any other gym and you're there by yourself. You're not making friends. So it's been nice for the past 2 years making some new friends and, you know, and enjoying working out, you know, as a group.
Fantastic. How about CrossFit in general? I mean, there's a lot of stigmatism going on about CrossFit being this elite, crazy sport, or the gyms are full of these fanatical cult-like members. What would you say is something that you would just promote CrossFit for, period?
I think the everybody encouraging everyone. You know, they're the elite athletes, but they're so far and few between that no matter who you are, we're all here to get healthier and stronger. In the community, you know, everybody just making you give it your all. You know, you may not have another rep in you, but because somebody's sitting there encouraging you, you get your last rep in.
Fantastic. So you had an injury recently.
Yes.
So how has that been for your recovery with CrossFit? We just talked to Brad Potter. Yeah. He had some pretty serious, you know, knee issues.
Sure.
He's back in here recovery-wise. It's been shorter. Aaron had some injuries. These are all fuck. I'm trying to say. Pre-what? Pre-CrossFit injuries.
Okay,
Thank you,
yeah.
sir. Pre-CrossFit injuries. Yeah. So, I mean, how would you say your recovery has been, and how has it been for you?
Yeah, so I had a partially ruptured Achilles. It was tough. You know, it's I elected to have surgery based on I'm doing an Ironman this fall, so I knew I needed to get it fixed and get on recovery right away. Leading up to the injury, I had some tendonitis that I couldn't get rid of. You know, I'd been through physical therapy, still participating in half Ironmans and sprint Ironmans, and it just gave. I mean, so 11 weeks essentially off of CrossFit, and I tell my wife every day about killed me not to come to the gym at 5 a.m. because I just, you know, it was a pattern. You know, it was something I wanted to do. And, you know, I went through essentially been through physical therapy, and now I'm starting to get my running back. I was able to do some upper body strength training once I got out of my cast, but it was still limited because I didn't have a lot of balance on my just, you know, non-weight bearing cast for 6 weeks. Just takes the toll on the muscles. So, but the injury kind of helped me take a step back and realize that I do need to take some time off. You know, there's a recovery period for a reason.
And I mean, that's pretty serious. You're training for an Ironman. I know as well how much time it goes in just to train for it.
Right.
So are you back on the horse help with that stuff? Are you back in the pool? What are you doing?
I've been in the pool since I got out of my cast. Haven't really been on the bike yet, and, you know, so trying to keep the swimming up, you know, because the swim is the swim. You know, the bike and run is now in a couple months where I really start focusing on my training. You know, my goal is to do well in the race, but also make the time cap.
Yeah, 16 hours. It's a doozy. So, all right, Jay, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it, man.
No problem.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Give us your name.
Sarah Williamson.
All right, Sarah, thank you for coming in. What brought you to CrossFit, just in general, overall, when you first started here?
Well, actually, the Cedar Rapids Firemen got a deal to come in and do like a 12-week program. So I'm a wife of a firefighter, so they allowed me to do the 12-week trial.
Oh, cool.
And I loved it, so I stuck with it. I was working out at a gym off and on. I was doing workouts at home, and so I just wanted a more challenging workout.
Awesome. And were you an athlete before you started doing CrossFit? Did you run, do kind of stuff like that? Or?
I run, bicycle, just, you know, dumbbells.
Okay. Like we all did, kind of like the normal kind of little workouts.
Exactly.
Okay. What do you think is a unique thing about 2.2 in particular for you?
Yeah, first of all, the coaches are awesome. So they push you. You know, I've been in CrossFit for 2 years now, and they still work with me on my form, and they still push me and want me to keep working out harder and harder. So.
Gotcha. And when you think about the stigmatism of CrossFit, it's always kind of crazy and wacky. It's some kind of cult. Everybody, you know, people say it to me all the time, well, how's your cult going?
Yeah, exactly.
If you had to promote CrossFit, what's something that you would promote to somebody else that is a benefit?
Well, I say, you know, okay, for me, I've never been so toned in my life, you know, and so obviously you're going to work out hard here and it shows, you know. You got people that are doing other workouts in town, like group fitness workouts, and it seems like they always do like a set week program and then they quit and they go back to their normal thing and then they have to do that again. And with CrossFit, you keep wanting to come back because it's competitive. And I'm not competitive, but I love it. I'm always like, oh, did I beat that girl on the time?
So what, like things today when we have these big team workouts on Saturdays, do you really enjoy that?
Yes. I like the team workouts. It's fun because you push each other and it's just more fun. You laugh more and
goof off more and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, have you had, and were you a college athlete or high school athlete, anything like that?
I did not go out for any sports other than in grade school,
Okay.
like softball. And then high school, never did any sports. I never worked out until after college. And I started eating healthy in college, and I actually started losing weight in college. Not that I was ever really big, but
Sure.
I started losing weight in college rather than gaining weight. And then I started working out after college. So when I started CrossFit, I was like, I can't do that. I can't box jump. I can't do a pull-up. And now it's like
piece of cake.
I can pretty much do everything. I can't do all the heavy weightlifting, as heavy as other people, but I can do every movement, and I don't say I can't anymore.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. You're good. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Give us your name.
My name's Stevie.
Stevie, what brought you into CrossFit from the very beginning?
Okay, so I started about a little over a year ago to lose some weight. I started back in Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from. And then we moved out here for Kevin's job, and I found 2.2, which I love. But yeah, it was originally to lose some weight and get back into an exercise regimen.
Okay, did it work? How was your weight loss?
Yeah, so I'm 85 pounds down. It's going really good. The nice thing is that in the beginning when I was sitting at a desk 10 hours a day, not doing anything, it was nice because I could scale things to my ability and work my way through up to new goals and new stuff. So once the weight started coming off, and now I'm a little bit happier with where I am weight-wise, I have new goals, and I'm trying to do things, progress further in the whole CrossFit world.
Is that something that you feel is one of the benefits of CrossFit, period, is that you can always change your goals, always adjust things?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, regardless if you're elite athlete or, a beginner like I was, you're doing the same movements. You're just finding ways to scale those, whether it's weight or just breaking down the movement. So anybody can be doing the same thing. It's just a matter of how you do it and how you progress through it. And that's really a nice thing.
How would you promote CrossFit in general, just to anybody who's heard about how crazy it is and you can't do it because it's so hard? What would you say is a good thing about CrossFit?
A big factor that got me into it was the community. It's not just a gym. You come in and you're like, well, okay, what am I going to do today? We all have a plan. We all come in. We all do the same thing, and we're all pushing each other. So if I come in and I'm having a bad day, I know there's 20 people that are going to push me to do harder, whether it's just them pushing themselves. I'm like, all right, I got to get my game up, or it's just like the morale.
Gotcha.
And it's really nice. It's like a family, which is a nice aspect of it. We all come in, we all work really hard together.
If you want to talk about CrossFit 2.2 in particular, that's a great answer for CrossFit in general, but how about 2.2? What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I mean, the community is here, but also the coaching is phenomenal. They're really good at breaking stuff down and making sure everybody's doing the movement properly and at their pace, so they're not going to hurt themselves. We bring everybody up to speed, so it's like you start with breaking movements down at a light weight, and you work your way up to really doing those movements fluidly and with a lot of weight. And it's nice because the coaches know how to look at somebody and really know and gear them in the right direction to start them and get them going.
Yeah, and I find myself I saw some gals today doing pull-ups by just jumping up off the ground on the bar, just barely doing a pull-up, and they were really struggling. But I remember back when I started thinking, I remember that. It's so awesome that you're starting out, and at least you're trying. It's so tough.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you're only going to get better by starting at a certain point. Everybody starts at a certain point, and the goal is just to get there, whether it's I'm going to get a lighter band, or I'm going to get a kipping pull up today, or, work on butterflies. Like, it's just a nice thing that no matter where you are in the CrossFit world, there's always progression. Okay. And it's a nice way to push yourself and set little goals.
Sure. And have you done any competitions?
I have. I've done a couple. I really, really like them. It's not something that I ever would have thought I would have done. But it's really interesting to go in and, I came from not exercising at all to now I'm competing. I mean, it's beginner, but it's still so fun. It's so cool to be like, I did stuff that other people were doing. I might have been scaled, but it's a really nice feeling. It's an accomplishment.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome that you keep finding more things
to
accomplish.
To add in and
keep
pushing and there's no end in what goals you can set for yourself.
That's fantastic. How about you as an athlete? Were you an athlete in high school and in college, anything like that?
No. I swam, I horseback rode when I was younger, but from, the past 8 years, I haven't been doing anything. School, sitting at a computer 10 hours a day, I just kind of decided I was going to change my life and jumped right in. To my surprise, it was so scalable that I was able to work my way up to progressions and work my way up to, it took me 20 minutes to run a mile the first time I started, and now I'm, breaking it down to 8 minutes,
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's nice.
Jesus.
It's on a good day.
Awesome. That was perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy Sanborn.
Awesome. What brought you to CrossFit in the very, very beginning?
Probably my husband, and he had been doing it for 6 or 7 months and really enjoyed it and really enjoyed the community that's here. And I decided I really needed to make a change in my lifestyle, workout habits, eating habits, and decided to give it a shot.
Fantastic. Were you an athlete before you did CrossFit, in high school, college, anything like that?
High school for sure, a little bit in college, and then after that was mostly just attempts at running, walking. Lived out in the mountains for a while, so did a lot of hiking and bike riding out there. But pretty sedentary the last couple years before I started CrossFit.
Okay. What would you say is something, if you were to try to talk somebody into trying CrossFit because they're worried about it being some cult that's got crazy fanatic athletes in it, what would you say is something that you would promote about CrossFit just in general?
It's absolutely for everyone. I don't think there's a type of person that can't do CrossFit because everything is modifiable. The coaches ensure that you are getting adequate instruction, that you're doing the moves correctly. Every little move that you see is modifiable. So what's great is that our gym has every level. It has the elite athletes to people just starting out to people who haven't been active for most of their life. So I think it's something that absolutely anyone can do.
If you had to promote 2.2 specifically, what is something that you like about this gym?
The coaching for sure. The coaches really care about you being successful. They care about you progressing. They really give great encouragement and instruction. And then just here, the community is fantastic. It's a really fun community to be a part of. People are supportive. They encourage you every day, every movement you're doing, every WOD that you're doing. And then there's a lot of social aspects to it too that are fun. It's very family oriented. We do things outside of the gym. So I think it's a great environment.
How about yourself as an athlete, or as you're getting stronger in game or fit? Do you see a big change in yourself?
Definitely confidence level is increased. I think that there's it definitely translates outside of the box for sure, and the things that you can do and just feel physically better about yourself. Never felt this physically strong before in my life, so that's a great feeling. And I'm just starting now, after almost 9 or 10 months, just starting to see some really nice changes in the way that my muscles are forming and the way that I'm able to get through WODs that before I used to struggle through, and now I can complete them. And what's nice is that this always allows you to push yourself farther and farther. So,
fantastic. Are you doing any upcoming events that you thought you'd never do that 2.2 has helped you be more confident and even thinking about?
I'm going to do a Tough Mudder in Chicago, so that'll be fun. That'll be my first. Well, actually, I did a small mud run, but this will be the biggest
and you feel like
competition.
You feel like CrossFit's helped you with that?
Absolutely. I think obviously the obstacles are going to be challenging regardless of how much CrossFit, but I think CrossFit definitely prepares you for any type of physical activity outside of what you do in the gym, whether that's just yard work, things around the house, or actual athletic competitions.
And have you done any competitions?
I've done one, a team competition. I was about 6 months into CrossFit when I did it. I would be interested to see. I'm sure I could do better this time, 5 or 6 months later. So I think that's fun to see that the things that you did then that you struggled with now become a little bit easier for you. But it was fun. It was a very supportive environment. Our gym goes out and supports competitions when people are competing from the gym. So that's that's really nice.
Awesome. Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming here. What is your name?
I'm Erin Tapkin.
Erin, what brought you into CrossFit just in general?
Well, I got kicked out of all the other gyms in town because I'm really intimidating, and they didn't want me in their gyms anymore. So this is the only gym that would have me. No, I had a 2-year journey of losing weight on my own, just doing some diet and exercise at home, just treadmill only 7 days a week. And after 2 years, I was just really weak, and I had no strength whatsoever. Couldn't do anything. I could walk and run on the treadmill, but that was it. So I searched around town to try to find a place, and CrossFit seemed like a good fit for me. A good mixture of intensity, a good mixture of movements, so I wouldn't get bored with anything, because I really was kind of getting bored with the treadmill.
When you say 7 days on a
7
treadmill,
days a week.
sounds horrible.
It was pretty terrible.
That sounds bad. If you were to talk about CrossFit 2.2 in particular, what are some of the things that you like the most about this gym and what they offer?
The coaching.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
The coaching is pretty incredible. I had done a couple sessions with personal trainers, and while I learned a little bit, they were never very intensive. I like the coaching here a lot.
Awesome. CrossFit sometimes gets a bad rap of being some like fanatical cult-like thing. Mm-hmm. What would you say is a benefit of CrossFit just in general for people who are unfamiliar with it?
Well, I don't take offense to the cult-like atmosphere at all, because it actually works. It's if you're using the term cult-like to mean a tight-knit community where everybody encourages one another and supports one another, then yes, it's cult-like. I think the variety of the things that you do in CrossFit I think it tends to keep people engaged in it, and people get engaged in wanting to get better at things, and that makes them talk about it a lot, which then in turn you start talking to people that aren't into CrossFit, and then that makes people think that you're obsessed with it, and then they turn into like, oh yeah, it must be cult-like. They won't stop talking about it.
Right. Well, I think I've told people that it's like anything new. If anything new is going to be exciting, and if you enjoy it, you're going to want to talk about it. So it's not necessarily any different than anything else. It's just right now, people I think are getting the idea that people are excited about doing it, and the community is a huge thing.
Yes. The more people that do it, the more people are going to talk about it, the more you're going to hear about it.
There you go. Exactly. Have you seen a difference when it comes to your strength, your athletic ability in general since you started 2.2?
Oh, absolutely. There are things that I can do now that I couldn't do then when I started a year and a half ago. Of course, I'm not at an elite level. I'm not even at a top level on a scale of 1 to 10. If I came in at 0, I might be at a 4 now. But one of the things I like about CrossFit is that you're really able to see progress. You can see where you started, and you can see where you're going, and you can see what all your hard work is actually
paying off
completely. Yeah.
Okay.
So
now, do you own a business here in town?
I do. Mm-hmm.
What business do you own?
I own a comic book store called Alter Ego in Marion.
Awesome, in Marion. I've gone by it so many times, and I've never stopped in.
You gotta stop in.
And now I've got to stop in.
Yeah.
My kids would love it there.
It's a lot of fun.
That's fantastic.
It's one of the best things I like about it is that there's new comic books every week. So every single week there's a whole brand new batch of stuff, and people are really excited to come in. Some other businesses, my dad had his own insurance agency for years and years and years, and I was always, whenever I would help out there, I was always amazed because people don't like to buy insurance, so they come in and it's a little bit like negative. They're not happy. But when people come into my business, they're coming in because they want to, and they're excited and they're happy. And
that's awesome.
So
it seems like it fits your personality, that kind of store too. Happy, enjoying yourself.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate taking some time to talk to us. Your name is?
Amy Jones.
Amy, what brought you into CrossFit in general from the very beginning?
I was a runner I was training for a marathon, and I kept getting injured. Finally, I developed a stress fracture in my foot, and I was forced to take some time off running. I wanted to find something that I could do that matched that intensity that I was training at, and I decided to give CrossFit a try.
What do you think is your favorite parts about this gym?
I think what attracted me to 2.2 specifically was the fact that the training or the programming written by Kilo is the same programming that we use, and they've taken many athletes to the CrossFit Games. I think that's sort of what attracted.
Have you done any competitions? Have you done any
I
competitions
have.
yet?
I've done a few CrossFit competitions.
You never see yourself doing that at all, ever?
Not really. I sort of figured once I'd rehabbed my stress fracture from running that I would quit CrossFit and go back to running. And now I find that I have to have both of them. I think that the training I get at CrossFit really complements my running.
Okay. Well, and I know Rick, one of the members of our gym, is doing the Boston Marathon, and he said he knocked 4.5 minutes off his marathon time, which is extremely significant for a long-distance runner.
Absolutely.
Do you feel it's helped your running quite a bit?
Absolutely. I feel like I'm not as fatigued as early in my runs. I feel like my core strength is significantly better. My upper body doesn't get tired as often. I feel like I don't have to train as much. I feel like I have a lot more speed.
When I think I saw you doing your first ring muscle up the other day, and you had like 4 or 5 women around you that were all screaming and yelling and cheering you on.
Right.
Does that mean that's got to be part of the one that's part of the that's got to be part of it? Excuse me. That's got to be one of those parts that you really enjoy about CrossFit. I mean,
absolutely. I feel like I've developed some lifelong friendships here. I feel like it's a supportive environment no matter where you are in terms of your level of fitness.
Sure.
We're all equals once we start the clock, and we're all here to support each other.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming in. What was your name?
Yeah, I'm Matt. I'm Matt from the Primal Scream. Boom! It's our podcast / commercial for CrossFit 2.2. I love it.
So what brought you into CrossFit? How did you get started?
I got brought into CrossFit because I met Nick Rosine and because you have been coming to CrossFit and you love it.
Yep.
And I was really getting nervous that you were going to surpass me in athleticism and
of
strength.
course, I was not excited about you starting because I knew you'd get better than me faster. So we're on the same page.
Okay. So, yeah, that's why I got into it. And just real quick, I've been listening because I've been in the back listening to the audio. I know kind of the questions you're going to ask, so I'm just going to roll with some of these answers.
So you want me to step out of the screen?
No, I love it when you're in the screen. It's the duo thing. It's a partnership. So you talked about what brought me into this, and then you said, like, you know, the coaching and all this stuff. I've been involved in weightlifting my whole life. I mean, I probably started when I was 12 and just doing, I mean, I was obsessed with Muscle and Fitness magazine, and I had pictures of bodybuilders on my bedroom wall, and that's the type of thing I was really into. Sure. So I started out in that avenue in high school, and then I transitioned and we did personal training. You and I both did personal training for a while, and we kind of kept up with that same type of venue of this is what has been working for us for a long time. We did some training, we did some classes. And then I also went in and did some powerlifting. I got into a powerlifting side of working out. And CrossFit for me, what I've noticed, and I'm a newbie. I'm a total new person doing here at CrossFit 2.2. I actually, Josh popped my cherry coming into this building. This is the first time I worked out the old building one time, but I really got my foundations classes here at this new building, which I love because it's huge. You don't feel cramped and like people are walking on you. It's awesome. And what I noticed was that I loved powerlifting because it had a family atmosphere. And I really enjoyed working out the way I had been working out since I was 12 or 13. But this is kind of a culmination of all these great things because you have a wonderful family atmosphere. You have these Olympic lifts that are very powerful. You feel very powerful. You're building that strength, that core strength, and basic movements like a burpee. You fall down, how are you going to get back up? It's basically a burpee, you know? So having that functional movement and then all the different types of people that are in this gym.
When I came in, I'm a fairly strong fella. I've always felt very athletic. Coming in here, I was nervous. I was intimidated. But when I saw the people that were in here, you have a huge range of people. You have men, you have women, you have older, you have younger, you have very athletic people, and you have not so athletic people, but they're all trying 100%, and everybody's cheering everybody on.
It really is significantly unique to CrossFit.
Yeah.
I think our community is, I am partial to here as well when it comes to our community and the people that we work out with. And I gave my 6 a.m. crew high fives when they got done with today's Saturday workout, because that's my crew that I work out with all the time. That's
sure.
My smaller community inside the larger CrossFit community. And I think that's the biggest thing that draws you in. But you can always hit another goal. I mean, so you felt like you were starting out brand new. You're already feeling more confident, but you're already thinking about things you're going to do next.
Yeah, and I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm going back and doing deadlifts that I thought, oh, maybe my back won't be good for it. I came into this with having my knee scoped a little while ago, and I haven't ran and done anything gymnastic-y for a long time.
Great word.
So to do, I mean, when I was doing my foundations classes with Josh.
Are these blinking?
Yeah, they're still blinking. Okay. They're still good. When I was doing my foundations class with Josh, I was doing high knees back and forth, and I was like, oh my God, this is the first time I've done this with my knees since with it being scoped. Kicking my heels up to my butt, running back. My left leg could only come halfway up. That was it. I've only been doing this for 5 weeks, and I've been spotty at best. And even with that 5-week process of doing the basic movements, doing these front squats that I've never done before, doing overhead squats, I actually have full range of motion with my knee right now. I feel the best I've felt in 5 years, and I've only been doing it for 5 weeks. And
you had a great foundation coming in. Even though you had a bad knee, you had a pretty good athletic foundation coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's probably a part of it, because, I mean, we love 2.2, but they're not miracle workers.
Right.
But they definitely take people from 0 and take them to 10. I mean, we've seen it all day long.
Right. And there's a sense of at ease when you come in. Nick is really funny when he's. I mean, I really want to get him. I would love it if everybody could see how he conducts his class in the morning. He's very funny. He's very laid back. If you're nervous at all because it's your first time and he starts cutting jokes, he's like, okay. He breaks down the movement. Like if we're doing Olympic lift, he would break down the movement. But then he'll say something silly like, hey, after you do this, we're going to run. Remember, that's 1 foot in front of the other. And, and it catches you off guard because, you're trying to get psyched up and you're a little nervous about the workout because you're going to kick your own ass with it. But then he brings it back down and you can laugh off some of that stress. And the positivity in this gym, which one other thing that I love about CrossFit is all the terminology. And so when they say the box, I love it. So the positivity in the box is amazing. It's one of those things that it's the thing that sets it off from any other type of workout that I've had in my life. So
I couldn't agree more.
CrossFit 2.2, Nick Rosine, Josh, wonderful trainers. And thank you guys for having us in today. I loved it.